Every day, I either tempt fate or am on my way to do so. Help the teacher organize reagents. Accidentally created toxic gas. Sent the whole class straight to the hospital. Students are prohibited from conducting experiments with unauthorized reagent mixtures. Helped the dorm manager unclog the drain. One mistake blew up half the building. Students are prohibited from using chemical reagents. Unclogging the dormitory drain. Finally managed to sneak out and skip a class, only to accidentally end up at a crime scene. Students are prohibited from climbing over walls, skipping class, and entering restricted areas outside campus, all because I transmigrated into the only paleontology major, joined a school live broadcast program, and accidentally awakened the school rules system. As long as my actions cause the school to add new rules, I get a chance to win a lottery. From then on, the bizarre regulations at Zihai University quickly went from 20 to 2,000. Even with all the teachers and students begging me to stop, it didn't work. Who could resist the perks of the lottery system? Today, according to my professor's instructions, I was doing soil sampling in the school's undeveloped area, preparing for next week's sedimentary environment analysis class. I hummed a tune as I dug. The sun was shining high. And I was about to run off. Otherwise, if there's an outbreak, the school will be in big trouble. Just then, a dull thud sounded. It made my palm go numb. Right then, the cameraman came over. "Bro, what did you just dig up?" I shook my head, then carefully pushed aside the loose dirt with my shovel. Rubble. A heavily rusted, curved piece of metal was soon exposed. I squatted down to take a closer look. The shape. Why does it look so much like an anti-personnel mine from the movies? You know, this school was built on an old mass grave. Could there really be war relics buried here? My heart skipped a beat. No way I'm this unlucky. Did I really just dig up a landmine? And then I remembered the Tian song I was humming earlier. A chill ran up my spine. The cameraman immediately jumped back several steps. "Dude, don't mess with me like that. I haven't even had a girlfriend yet." Meanwhile, on the live stream, more than 1,000 viewers all burst out laughing. Popularity +1 kept showing non-stop on the screen. A Teacher's Day gift prepared for the principal? Relax, this is just an anti-tank mine. It won't go off from a tiny bump. When I was a kid, I used to play with grenades like hammers. When I found out what those really were, I was scared out of my mind. So this is nothing. Back in my village, Old Wang buried 3 tons of shells by his front door. That road is called the Magic Heavenly Road now. I ignored what the cameraman said, jumped right back into the pit, and started brushing away around it with a small brush. Pretty soon, a knob-like outline emerged from the dirt. Seeing this, I quickly called my advisor. "Professor Lee, I think I found a landmine. It's in the abandoned field to the right of the school. There's even a raised triggering device on top." Professor Lee's voice was noticeably tense. "Whatever you do, don't touch it again. I'll be right over."
He hung up after saying that.
A little over 10 minutes later, Professor Lee rushed over.
He didn't even wipe his sweat.
He immediately squatted down for a close look. After a while, he started clearing the dirt with a small trowel. The cameraman and I quickly backed away in fear. But the explosion we expected never happened. After just a few shovelfuls, Professor Lee easily lifted the thing up. "No need to worry, it's just a pressure cooker lid." I took it for a glance, then tossed it to the side. Who's so thoughtless to dump this thing here? Professor Lee shook his head, smiling. "Better safe than sorry, though. Keep sampling. Be careful." After saying that, he left. The viewers in the live stream were dying of laughter. Popularity skyrocketed again. Suggestion: the host should apply to teach at New Oriental. Even pressure cooker lids come to you. I seriously thought his song would come true, that we blow up the school. Turns out, it was just this. The cameraman next to me couldn't help but laugh out loud. I immediately shot him a look. "What's so funny? You tried digging." He looked completely unwilling. "I'm just the cameraman. This is your assignment, not mine." I jumped back down into the pit. "Cut the crap. You dig over there. Or you're on your own for dinner? He instantly looked miserable and stayed quiet. This campus observation show is spearheaded by the education department. They picked 20 students to be live streamed the entire time. After 2 months, whoever's most popular wins a huge education fund. The cameraman's got a hidden body cam. And during the program, he has to eat, sleep, and live with me. So if I don't feed him, he'll have to go hungry. Because of that, he had no choice but to start digging with a trowel too. I kept my eye on my own hole. I'm not giving up. I have to dig up something real today. I started swinging the shovel non-stop, but only 5 minutes in, a much deeper metallic clank rang out. I carefully began to clean it off. The cameraman immediately rushed over when he heard. Don't tell me it's another pressure cooker lid. By now my hands were shaking. The shape and structure look exactly like the aerial bombs I saw in military magazines. Identical. The cameraman was scared stiff. Holy crap, it's really a bomb. I forced a bitter smile, unable to reply. I called Professor Lee again. I think I really dug up a shell. Professor Lee obviously froze for a second. Didn't I just help you? It was just a pressure cooker lid. I put on a long face. No, I found another one. This one has a body, and even tail fins. A helpless sigh came over the phone. Wait there for me. I'll be right over. This time, Professor Lee came even faster. He leaned in for a look, and his face instantly went rigid. Then he immediately made a call. Principal, we've got a situation. Lin Yuan from our department is out in the field, and just dug up something that looks like an aerial bomb. On the other end, the principal's voice cracked. Wait, are you serious? Nobody touch it. I'll be there right away. The call had barely ended when the principal rushed over in a hurry, with the vice principal and security staff following. The moment he saw what was in the pit, sweat beaded instantly on his forehead. He immediately called 911 and shouted to his assistant nearby, "Tell campus security to guard this area. Nobody is allowed near it. And have all departments tell students to stay away from the site." Immediately. It wasn't long before security staff arrived on the scene and began putting up warning tape. The school started evacuating students too. The livestream viewers watching this were going wild. Popularity soared again, breaking 10,000 in an instant, and was still climbing fast. Told you that song about blowing up the school would cause trouble. Now look, it really happened. Lin found something like this. Should the school give him a demerit or a reward? Right at that moment, several police cars arrived with sirens blaring. As soon as the cars stopped, the captain of the Panther squad walked over. Who's in charge here? What's the situation on site? The principal quickly stepped forward. I'm the principal here. One of our students might have dug up an aerial bomb. Could you come and take a look? Upon hearing that, the captain immediately walked toward the pit.
He waved his hand at the same time,
signaling everyone to move back further. Keep a safe distance. Hearing that, we quickly backed up another dozen meters. We saw him take out a radiation detector first, walk around the iron object, but didn't find anything unusual. Then he activated the X-ray backscatter imaging function. A team member observing behind began to report. The inside is hollow. No explosives found. The internal structure matches that of a high-pressure vessel. The captain signaled the team to run a chemical sniff test. Several members collected rust powder and air samples and started analyzing them. After a minute, the team member began to report. No TNT or other explosive substances detected, mainly iron oxide and sulfides. These are corrosion products from metal buried long-term. Upon hearing this, the captain picked up the shovel and started digging. Soon, he pulled out a heavily rusted, heavy gas cylinder. The principal confirmed it was safe. If there's nothing else, we'll be leaving now. The principal hurried up to shake his hand. Really, thank you so much, officers. After a few polite words, the police cars gradually left the school. The principal first told security to take down the tape, then walked up to me. So this is Lin, right? A promising student. It's fine, you can keep digging. Don't neglect your studies. Our school's paleontology program is counting on you to carry it on. When I heard that, I laughed immediately. Thank you, principal, for your concern. He nodded and left with his group. As Professor Lee left, he glanced at me. I thought you were trying to blow up the school. All right, go ahead. If you run into trouble, come find me. After saying that, he left too. Watching their backs, I turned and looked at the pit. Seriously, I refuse to believe this. There's no way I won't find something decent in such a big area. I'm taking on this pit today. I rubbed my hands together and swung the shovel again. But after just 3 minutes of digging, the familiar sound of metal hitting metal rang out again. I frowned impatiently. Is this never going to end? What's it this time? A wok or an enamel basin? Whose family buried their ancestral kitchen here? Based on my last 2 experiences, I started hacking away at the dirt around the iron thing with my shovel. I hit that iron chunk several times during the process. The sound really echoed across the open ground. And at that moment, a mechanical voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Host detected to be repeatedly risking their life. Activation conditions met. System binding in progress. Right after that, a blue virtual panel appeared in front of my eyes. My movement froze instantly. The shovel was only dozens of centimeters away from the iron. I stared intensely at the panel information. Holy crap, a 500-kilogram aerial bomb, containing 300 kilos of TNT. Thinking about how I'd just hacked at it with the shovel, my scalp went numb instantly. A second later, I snapped out of it, grabbed the still-dazed cameraman next to me, and ran as far as I could. Only after running several hundred meters did I stop. He was gasping and completely out of breath. Dude, what happened? I gave him a bitter smile. Would you believe me if I said I really dug up an aerial bomb this time? He just shook his head. The livestream numbers kept soaring. The chat was all jokes. Here we go again, streamer. That face doesn't look like he's acting. But how could a student recognize an aerial bomb? Probably just scared himself. Prize quiz time. Is it a gas tank or an oxygen cylinder this time? Looking at the cameraman's face, I broke out in a cold sweat. I hurriedly called Professor Lee again. He sounded exhausted and helpless. Lin Yuan, what now? Don't tell me you found another bomb. My voice was shaking. Professor, this time it's really an aerial bomb. A big 500-kilo one. Professor Lee paused for a moment. I'll be right there. A few moments after he hung up, he rushed over in a hurry. He just glanced from afar, and his face obviously turned grim. Then he immediately called the principal, but no one picked up. Looking furious, he dialed 110 directly. Not long after, the police cars pulled up again at the edge of the wasteland. Captain Zhang got off with his squad. Professor Lee quickly went to meet them. Officers, I'm really sorry to trouble you again. This time what we've dug up is very likely an aerial bomb. Captain Zhang nodded and walked straight toward the pit. He carefully observed for a few seconds at the edge, and then suddenly waved his hand sharply. Everyone back up another 100 meters. Set up a secondary cordon. At his words, we quickly retreated further away. The team started setting up all kinds of detection equipment. As quickly as they could at a distance, they used a robot to get close to the pit. Very soon, their detector suddenly gave off a piercing alarm. A team member immediately reported, abnormal radiation detected. The internal structure is complex. There's a central axis and a compartmented gun system. TNT residue detected. There's also traces of RDX. There's definitely high explosives inside. As soon as that was said, Captain Zhang jumped up and shouted with all his strength, "Evacuate immediately to 500 meters away." Then he pulled out his walkie-talkie and switched to the emergency channel. Quickly reported to the command center. West Sea University. Undeveloped district confirmed. Large unexploded aerial bomb found. Estimated at 500 kilograms. Contains TNT and RDX. Abnormal radiation detected. Fuse unstable. Request for highest level emergency response activation. Lock down a 3-kilometer perimeter. Urgently evacuate all personnel. After reporting, he turned to Professor Lee and yelled, "Quick! Notify all students to evacuate immediately." Everyone in the live stream was stunned. It really is a 500-kilogram aerial bomb. This thing could take out the whole college town. Does Lin Yuan have a magic mouth, or what? The campus is probably going to see a lot of sunshine from now on. The internet is awesome. Even aerial bombs can be live streamed now. Over at the scene, Professor Lee kept calling the principal over and over, but nobody answered. He was so anxious he stomped his feet. Then he opened the teacher's work group chat. Hold down the voice button. Attention, all teachers. A high-risk explosive has been discovered in the school's development zone. Immediately organize all nearby students. Evacuate quickly and orderly to Quihu Park, 3 kilometers away. Just a few seconds after the message was sent out, I saw students start pouring out of the teaching building. Right after that, students started gathering at the library, dormitory, and cafeteria. Under the teacher's guidance, they rushed toward the outside of the campus. Soon after, the sound of an air raid alarm suddenly erupted from the top of the broadcasting building. At the same time, not far away, there was a flood of reports coming through the micro team's walkie-talkie. The advanced team of the Chemical Defense Group has arrived. The city government emergency command vehicle is in position. A preliminary lockdown of the surrounding 3 kilometers has been completed. Personnel have been dispatched to evacuate residents of nearby communities. At this moment, the outskirts of the wasteland were already surrounded by police cars. Just then, Director Chun of the City Public Security Bureau arrived at the scene. He walked up to the command vehicle to ask about the situation. Captain Zhang quickly stepped forward to report. Preliminary judgment is that it's a leftover World War II aerial bomb. The bomb casing is severely corroded. The status of the fuse is unclear. The risk of dismantling it on-site is extremely high. If it can be transported to a safe location and detonated, it would be relatively safer. Director Chen frowned deeply in thought. When I heard this, I quickly shouted that the bomb can't be moved. Director Chen frowned and looked over. Who is this young man? Captain Zhang promptly stepped forward. He's Lin Yuan, the student who found the bomb. Director Chen angrily rebuked him on the spot. Why is a student staying here? Get him out of here immediately. Captain Zhang feared I was frightened. He hurriedly walked over. Don't worry, Lin. Our professionals will handle it. I shook my head seriously and said I know this type of aerial bomb. This is a specially modified German C-500, designed to destroy fortified structures. Buried in the ground for over 70 years, metal fatigue and corrosion have made the fuse extremely sensitive and fragile. If moved, the bomb could easily trigger the fuse and detonate instantly. If it explodes while being transported, its power will be at its peak. The resulting damage would be unimaginable. After hearing my analysis, everyone at the scene stiffened up. At this point, Professor Li came over and said, Lin Yuan, I never knew you understood this stuff. How come you didn't recognize the previous two during excavation? I scratched my head. I read detailed information about this bomb in some military books before. As soon as I finished speaking, Captain Zhang immediately turned and rushed into the emergency communication vehicle.
10 minutes later,
He handed the printed materials to Director Chun. They fully matched what Lin Yuan said. I then stepped forward. The only solution now is to detonate it on site. Upon hearing this, the principal went weak in the knees, almost collapsed. Director Chun frowned and looked at Captain Zhang. What's the success rate for on-site detonation? Captain Zhang gritted his teeth. I have handled up to 100 kilogram, 500 kilograms bombs. There are very few with experience nationwide. One can try to dismantle it, but I quickly interrupted him, thinking he'll get killed. Director Chun turned to me, Lin. If you have any ideas, speak up. I took a deep breath. My suggestion is to prepare in advance. Detonate it on site. Minimize the destruction. I have a plan. The core is controlled energy release and comprehensive protection. I then walked over to the command vehicle, picked up the tactical tablet, quickly sketched out a 3D schematic. First layer, core explosion control. Dig an 8-meter deep crater around the bomb. With 60-degree inward-sloping blast reduction trenches, move the bomb to the bottom of the crater. Fill it in layers with 1 meter of flexible energy-absorbing sandbags. 5 meters of wet sand. Cover the top with heavy-duty steel grid plates. Guide the shockwave upward. Second layer, vibration isolation. Dig a ring-shaped vibration isolation trench, 8 meters deep and 3 meters wide, down to bedrock. Cut off the seismic wave transmission to the surroundings. Reduce damage to the teaching buildings. Third layer, shockwave and shrapnel control. Pile 200 tons of sand and water bags around the isolation trench. Weaken the shockwave and absorb radioactive dust. Also, when placing the emulsion explosives, make sure the main blast force is directed skyward. After I finished speaking, the scene was silent. Everyone stared at me like I was a monster. Captain Zhang excitedly slapped his thigh. Genius, this plan is workable. It perfectly combines explosion mechanics, structural engineering, and vibration control protection systems. The design reaches military standards. Director Chan, upon hearing this, decisively ordered to execute this plan. Mobilize all engineering resources. Build the protection system as fast as possible. Not long after the orders were given, Zhai University instantly turned into a construction site. 3 hours later, Captain Zhang came over to report that everything was ready. Director Chun immediately ordered evacuation. I followed the main group, evacuated to Quihu Park, 3 kilometers away. Director Chun then slowly sounded the alarm. The piercing siren echoed through the park. Then a loud explosion came from the direction of Zihai University. A huge mushroom cloud shot skyward. The explosion was over in an instant. Fortunately, we were far enough from the site. Only small pieces of debris fell here. No injuries occurred. After a wave of chaos, relief was written all over everyone's faces. Then a report came from the command vehicle. The shockwave peak matched predictions. Building vibrations were below the safety threshold. Radiation levels peaked briefly, then subsided. Director Chang calmly picked up the walkie-talkie inside. Fire team, prepare to enter. After the order was given, lots of fire trucks headed to the blast site to cool and clean. The chemical defense group entered the core area to begin testing. An hour later, the danger was fully eliminated. After follow-up work began, Director Chan led Captain Zhang to find Milin Yuan. Thanks to you this time, we'll nominate you for a special bravery award and bonus. As a token of appreciation, I was so happy that my eyes squinted. Thank you, sir. Director Chun patted my shoulder. Outstanding youth. If you're interested in working for the police after graduation, you can come join us. Professor Lee immediately frowned. Director Chun, he's the only student in our department. Don't steal him. I scratched my head, embarrassed. Sorry, sir. I still prefer my current major. Director Chun smiled. I won't force you then. After some pleasantries, he left with the main group. Now Professor Lee looked at me with pride. You're pretty good, kid. I'll apply for a scholarship for you tomorrow. I rolled my eyes. I'm the only one in the department. If you don't give it to me, who else? Professor Lee smiled awkwardly. You still haven't finished your coursework. You want to pass, right? I gave a cold laugh. If I don't pass, our department now has a 100% fail rate. Even the cameraman next to me was shocked. Viewers in the live chat exploded, saying you could pay a semester's tuition and hire a few professors for one-on-one lessons, totally worth it. Niche majors are an all-out win. Other people get a 59 on the exam. It's the end of the world. Lin Yuan scores 59. The sky is falling, teacher. Professor Lee sighed helplessly. You win. For now, sample digging is out of the question. I'll give you a new project. Come by my office later and pick out a few rocks. Study the different types of fossils in them. I nodded in agreement. He turned and left. I headed back to my dorm with the cameraman. My other 3 roommates are transfer students from other departments. They immediately surrounded me when they saw me. Lin Yuan, did you hear that the school exploded? That explosion just now was insane. I was just thinking how to explain it. Suddenly, someone knocked on the dorm door. The principal stood outside with the dorm manager. All 3 roommates immediately jumped up to greet him. The principal waved his hand. No need to be nervous. Then he smiled and looked at me. Lin Yuan, I came here to thank you. If you hadn't dug out the bomb and come up with a detonation plan, the school would have been in serious trouble. On behalf of the school, I'm announcing a reward of 50,000 yuan for you and a public commendation for the entire school. A special individual merit will be added to your record and documented in your file. As for the undeveloped zone, don't go digging there anymore. We'll have experts thoroughly investigate it. I grinned to myself. The principal and Professor Lee gave me a new project. Once he was satisfied with my answer, he left. After getting some rest, I opened the system interface and started studying the school rule system. Each time the host triggers a new school rule, I get a chance to draw a prize. I was speechless. It's not like my family owns the school. How am I supposed to randomly add school rules? But then I thought about the time it warned me about the bomb and figured, hey, it's not too bad. The next morning, my roommates and I went to the cafeteria for breakfast. Just as we got to the entrance, we saw a crowd around the bulletin board. 2 new school rules were posted there. No digging holes without permission, and no singing parodied school song on campus. At that moment, the system suddenly prompted in my head. Host detected. 2 new school rules triggered. You now have 2 extra draws. The cameraman and my 3 roommates tried not to laugh at me. I just shrugged helplessly. Let's grab breakfast. The live viewers burst out laughing when they saw this. Our school has this one rule. For parent-teacher meetings, parents must be over 50. Because some girl brought her 27-year-old brother to the meeting and ended up stealing the homeroom teacher away. And the homeroom teacher was the principal's daughter. Our school prohibits bringing bodies on campus yourself. You can't throw trash in the trash can. You can't take toilet paper to the restroom. Turns out, every seemingly bizarre rule has some legendary story behind it. Like at our school, dating is allowed, but only with humans. After breakfast, I went to Professor Lee's office. I knocked on the door. No response from inside. So I just walked in. The office was empty. The cameraman whispered, "Let's just wait." I rolled my eyes. Wait for what? Then started searching around. But after all that searching, I still couldn't find any rocks. Just when I was about to call and ask, I caught sight of the temperature-controlled cabinet nearby. Inside were several black objects, with a warning sign, "Danger, do not touch." I immediately laughed. Finally found them. Why'd he hide them so deep? I opened the cabinet. Inside were 3 oddly shaped rocks, resting on a foam cushion. I patted them with my hand. These must be the ones. But how do you study such big rocks? If you want to know what's fossilized inside, you've got to break them open first. So I called over the cameraman and moved the rocks to a corner of the basketball court. I also went to the construction site from yesterday and borrowed a big sledgehammer. Then I gripped the hammer and swung it at the rocks. 2 hard swings. The rocks didn't budge. I took a deep breath, raised the hammer over my head. Suddenly, the rock exploded. It shattered into more than 10 sharp fragments. They shot out in all directions. The hammer in my hand clanged to the ground. Damn, this is a fossil! At that moment, the cameraman pointed at the ground in shock. Bro! The ground cracked. I stared in shock, eyes wide open. Holy crap! This is as powerful as a grenade. The cameraman gulped. Bro, Professor Lee, does he have a grudge against you? I rolled my eyes at him. What are you thinking? Saying that, I set up the remaining piece of rock. I controlled my strength and struck it again. Another loud explosion. This time, it blasted a half-meter wide black hole in the ground. A chilly aura rushed up from below. The viewers in the live stream were completely stunned. The number of viewers soared again. Man, yesterday you smashed a bomb. Today you smashed an explosive rock. He's literally dancing on the edge of hell. My classmate was just like him. He ended up going peacefully. I've never seen a rock explode from a hammer strike before. Is this just a giant popper toy? I swallowed nervously. My mind was blank. Whose fossil explodes like a claymore mine? The worst part is this bottomless hole. Even my newly earned bonus probably won't cover this. I hurriedly called Professor Lee. Once connected, I heard him sipping tea. Lin Yuan, I left the fossil in your dorm. Research it later yourself? I was instantly dumbfounded. Aren't the fossils the ones in your office's climate cabinet? Professor Lee's tone changed immediately. You didn't open the climate cabinet, did you? I gave a bitter chuckle and said yes. He gasped instantly. What have you done?
Hearing this,
I almost burst into tears. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I thought it was a fossil, so I just took it. Professor Lee's voice suddenly rose. Don't tell me it exploded. I answered softly. Yeah. His voice was trembling. Are you okay? That's a sealed stress rock. Even slight vibrations can make it explode instantly. I kept it in the climate cabinet for controlled temperature and safety. You really don't value your life, do you? I pouted, feeling wronged. I'm fine. Just tapped it with a hammer. Professor Lee was stunned. No one but you in my office would dare touch anything. You finally got what you deserved. I shrugged helplessly. I don't know if I deserve this, but you blew a giant hole in the playground. When the principal asks about it, I'll just say you told me to do the experiment here. Professor Lee was completely speechless. Are you kidding me? That rock can't be that powerful. I rolled my eyes again. If you don't believe me, come see for yourself. Professor Lee rushed his words. I'll be right there. Wait for me. He hung up immediately after speaking. In less than 10 minutes.
He ran over, panting heavily.
He turned on his phone flashlight and looked down. How is this possible? This rock shouldn't be that powerful. Before he finished, I heard a faint crack at my ear. The three of us looked down at once. A hair-thin crack appeared at the edge of the hole. It instantly widened to finger thickness. Professor Lee jumped up suddenly. Not good. Get away from here now. We barely managed to move away, and countless cracks near the edge of the hole started crazily spreading outwards. I bolted and started running as fast as I could, only stopped after sprinting several hundred meters. Looking back, a gigantic sinkhole over 50 meters across was in clear view. After a few seconds of silence, the live stream erupted. Popularity skyrocketed. You stare into the abyss, only to find the abyss stares back at you. Lin Yuan must be cursed, right? Yesterday he dug up a bomb. Today he collapses the sports field. How has this school lasted till now? We walked back to the collapse area to observe. It was a massive 30-meter deep pit. The sound of rushing water kept echoing from the bottom. A thick broken water pipe was spraying out water. At that moment, a system notification suddenly popped into my mind. Large-scale geological collapse detected. Environmental data analysis module automatically activated. Geological scan. Collapse zone completed. A massive cavity exists below. It is due to piping erosion. Main underground water supply pipe. Developed chronic leaks 3 years ago. The area's foundation backfill soil is imported loose sandy clay. Long-term leakage has caused water flow to erode the soil, forming a huge underground void. Now I finally understood. No wonder the ground broke so easily just now. Turns out the underground was already hollowed out. Professor Lee stared at the sinkhole. Lin Yuan, when the principal gets here in a bit, mind your attitude. No sooner had he finished, when the principal arrived with a group of officials, half running, half stumbling over. Lin Yuan, look what you've done. One of these days, you'll scare me to death. I shrugged. What does this have to do with me? The principal completely lost it. He pointed at the sinkhole with a trembling hand. It's like this, and you say it has nothing to do with you? The principal sighed helplessly. Do you think a sinkhole like this is something a mere student could cause? Look carefully. The water pipe in here was already leaking. When I blew the first small hole, I already heard the sound of rushing water. The water pipe leaked for a long time, constantly washing away fine particles in the backfill soil. Over time, a giant underground cavity formed. Only a crust was left on the surface. The explosion from smashing the rock just happened to break through that crust. As I said this, I straightened my back. I didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I helped the school a lot. Think about it. If this hadn't been exposed today, and it collapsed during a school event, could you bear the consequences? Professor Lee realized as well. Makes sense. Let's have a civil engineering professor take a look. That'll confirm everything. The principal took a deep breath. Sorry, Lin. My attitude was out of line earlier. Please don't take it to heart. I'll treat you to a meal later, and add 20 grand to yesterday's bonus. Hearing that, I blinked. Principal, you're too generous. It's my duty to help the school solve problems. As for the meal, just give me cash instead. As soon as I said that, everyone present was stunned. The principal reluctantly nodded in agreement. At that moment, a row of police cars pulled up on scene. Leading them was an old acquaintance, Chief Chun. When he saw the 50-meter-wide sinkhole, he couldn't help but gasp. He walked over and shook hands with the principal. Principal, is your school trying to give me exam questions underground? After hearing the sinkhole was caused by me again, Chief Chun patted my shoulder helplessly. Lin, our precinct's yearly KPI is going to be insane. You almost maxed out the quota by yourself. I gave an awkward smile. It's really not my fault. Director Chan didn't say anything further. He turned around and started assigning tasks. A police cordon was quickly set up at the scene. Tech team members began scanning the pit bottom with their equipment. The results matched my judgment exactly. Now we just needed to fill and repair it. But right at that moment, There was a muffled thud from the bottom of the pit. Director Chun urgently ordered that something was wrong. There was going to be another collapse. Everyone, evacuate. We all hurriedly ran to a safer distance. After confirming it was safe, we looked back. Inside, a thick and dim wall was revealed. At the base of the wall, there was a huge blast-proof iron door, covered in rust. In the center was a wheel that required several people to turn together. A ship's wheel-style valve. Director Chun immediately gave orders. The tech team scanned the pit walls from all angles for stability. The radiation team checked the area around the iron door. The air team collected gas samples from the door's gap. Everyone retreated outside the safety line. The engineering team got ready to reinforce the area. After the orders were given, all departments sprang into action. My gaze was locked onto the iron door. Suddenly a prompt popped into my mind. Target structure. Analysis complete. Large-scale civil defense facility. Built between the late 1960s and early 1970s. Constructed in response to specific international conditions and nuclear threats. Originally belonged to an important organization. Later forgotten due to the organization relocating and lost archives. Buried by backfill and covered by the school's construction. Suddenly, I realized the answer to all my questions. I cleared my throat and said, this could be an air raid shelter. I read about this in books before. Back during the nuclear crisis era, there were many civil defense facilities built nationwide. Many of those bunkers were forgotten for various reasons. Take a look at this arched blast-proof door. And this massive reinforced concrete wall. Those are typical features of civil defense projects from the 1960s and 70s. Classic traits of civil defense engineering from that era. The others nodded thoughtfully, but the principal frowned. How could such a large civil defense facility go completely unnoticed? I calmly smiled. If it was a highly confidential project, once the archives were lost, it could easily have been forgotten entirely. Professor Lee was so excited he was breathing fast. If that's the case, then what's inside could be priceless. Hearing this, Director Chun immediately ordered the valve to be opened. As the iron door slowly swung open, the beams from our powerful flashlights cut through the darkness. We saw a passageway stretching down underground. We were just about to send someone in to scout it out, when suddenly, a deafening roar sounded in the sky. Following the sound, we saw a military helicopter fly in from a distance. It forcefully landed nearby. A squad of fully armed soldiers immediately jumped out first. Right after that, an elderly man with white hair, supported by an officer, walked over. Director Chun strode up to meet him. Saluting, he greeted, "Good day, Commander. I'm Chun Ming with the Zihai City Bureau. This is Mr. Han. We've already secured the area. From this moment on, the military will take full control of the site. All actions will follow Mr. Han's command." Chief Chun agreed right away. Mr. Han walked over and glanced at the iron door. Then he smiled at me. "Young man, I watched the live stream earlier. I can't believe you actually guessed that this was a civil defense shelter. That's impressive. Come with me and let's go check it out." With that, he led the way into the iron door. A dozen high-powered flashlights lit the passage as bright as day. There were quite a few tightly closed doors on both sides. Chief Chun tried pushing one open. Scattered all over the room were lots of yellowed documents. The history professor casually picked one up. He instantly gasped. "This is nuclear bomb research material." Chief Chun glanced at Mr. Han as he held it. "This must be classified, right?" Mr. Han looked complicated.
Not anymore.
"I just don't want it to be forgotten." Hearing this, Chief Chun immediately called over the police officers behind him. "Protect everything here. Wait for the experts to handle it." Then we checked a few more rooms. Some held old radio stations and telephone switchboards. Some were dormitories. Documents were scattered everywhere. It was obvious they evacuated in a hurry back then. We went down 2 more levels. We saw a big hall connected to several arched doorways. We chose a passage and went in. At the end, we found an armory. A technician opened the iron door. Inside the huge warehouse, to the left, were dozens of Type 56 semi-automatic rifles and Type 54 submachine guns. In the middle were crates filled with bullets. Beside them were heaps of Type 67 grenades, stacked like a mountain. On the right, rows of rockets were neatly arranged. A young police officer exclaimed quietly, "This firepower is insane. I took a sharp breath. Yesterday's aerial bomb was wild enough. If this arsenal blows up now, it could launch the whole school into the sky. The live stream viewers were completely hyped. The number of viewers soared instantly. This is the doomsday bunker of my dreams. Fully stocked with weapons. No matter how many zombies show up, they'll all get taken out. If Li Yunlong had gear like this, even the Statue of Liberty would have to get replaced. Chief Chun, with a sharp command, photograph and document everything. Nobody's to touch anything. Mr. Han watched everything quietly, as if reminiscing about the past. Leaving the arsenal, everyone followed Mr. Han to the lowest level research area. We toured the materials analysis lab and the data recording room. Inside were heaps of valuable documents left behind. These would have caused a worldwide sensation decades ago. Now they're only valuable to history. Finally, we reached the deepest part of the research area. A huge metal door blocked the way. It had an airtight valve and a complex mechanical lock. There was also a radiation warning sign on the door. A technician brought a radiation detector close to the door's crack. The instrument suddenly let out a sharp alarm. Radiation levels far exceeded safety standards. Chief Chun instantly ordered everyone to fall back. Even Mr. Han's face changed. Now only 2 officers in protective suits remained on site. They grabbed hydraulic rescue tools and opened the big door. Inside, they saw a 2.5-meter-long nuclear bomb. No one had time to process their shock. We all turned and sprinted out of the passage. It was only when we returned to the bottom of the sinkhole that we could breathe easy. Chief Chun immediately ordered the entrance to the sinkhole to be sealed off. Everyone not involved was evacuated for a kilometer around. Notify both the chemical defense and nuclear energy departments immediately. The scene descended into chaos in an instant. After calming down a bit, Mr. Han let out a sigh. Everyone, don't be too scared. That thing down there won't explode.
It's an unfinished nuclear device.
Back in the day, they found it couldn't start a chain reaction. It's just a dud. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been left here. These words let us relax a little bit. Chief Chun found the principle. To prevent any possible nuclear leak, please evacuate all personnel on campus at once. The principal looked pale. He instructed someone to sound the air raid siren again. Minutes later, the scene from yesterday repeated in the school. Students were evacuated in an orderly manner under their teacher's guidance. Not long after, all kinds of military, hazmat, and engineering vehicles came rumbling in. A few hours later, top emergency experts and response teams checked out the scene. They started arguing right away in the temporary command post. A white-haired expert slammed the table. We must build a shielding layer on site. Preliminarily enclose it, then move it. A middle-aged expert with gold-rimmed glasses stood up too. Heavy equipment can't fit down there. Manual operation is risking our lives. Someone suggested airlifting it by helicopter. The old expert immediately shot it down. Are you crazy? If it blows up in midair, every inch of land for miles will turn to ruins.
Time kept ticking by.
As the argument reached a deadlock, I cleared my throat. Maybe we could use rail transport. Everyone looked at me. All the experts looked skeptical. Mr. Han looked to me. Young man, if you have any ideas, just speak up. It's okay if you're wrong. I scratched my head and said, when I went inside just now, I noticed something. From the bomb shelter entrance to the nuclear warhead chamber. Even though there are 2 sets of stairs, the passage is basically level overall. We could lay modular light rails, design custom shockproof transport containers with pulleys, use a winch to send in an empty container, then use a remote hydraulic lateral transfer system to slide the warhead into the container. The whole process would keep everything moving horizontally. Once safety is confirmed, seal the chamber door, and use the winch to pull the transport container back up. Outside, heavy-duty trucks and lead containers can be ready to take over. That will minimize bumps and radiation leaks as much as possible. As soon as I finished, Mr. Han looked at the stunned experts. What do you all think of this plan? The white-haired expert adjusted his glasses. That idea is ingenious. It balances safety and feasibility. The others quickly nodded in agreement. Mr. Han didn't hesitate then. We'll go with Lin. Yuan's solution. Start getting materials and equipment together right away. Chief Chun rushed to contact the live stream viewers. They were completely blown away. Viewership spiked again. Is this even reasonable? I came here for the excitement, not to watch you show off. A solution even the nuclear experts couldn't figure out. And a college student came up with it. Lin isn't the prettiest nor the worst. Yesterday's aerial bomb plan was already special. Now, solving the nuke issue, he's probably about to get recruited. Initially wanted to show my parents how Lin Yuan messed up. But turns out he's actually the perfect kid from someone else's family. That's really discouraging. The live chat was buzzing. Outside the stream, things were just as busy. 2 hours later, everything was ready. The riskiest part, the transfer began. Everyone stared at the screens. No one even dared to breathe, watching as the warhead was slowly slid into the container. And once the container was sealed tight, the motor pulled the container slowly up the track. Everyone watched tensely. The transport container stopped safely at the bottom of the sinkhole. Next up, the hydraulic lifting platform carefully placed the transport container into the lead coffin. The sealing was completed not long after. A technician immediately stood up to report. Radiation levels have returned completely to normal. Just as he finished speaking, the whole room instantly erupted in cheers. After that, the engineers used the transport container to move the shell out. The staff from the Cultural Relics Bureau also took away the important documents. We kept working until after 8 p.m. Only then was the air raid shelter completely cleared out. Once everything settled down, I was about to head to the cafeteria for a late-night snack, when Mr. Han suddenly called me over. Xiaolin, we really owe it to you this time. To be honest, this is about one of my comrades. I've been looking for this place for years. Thank you. I quickly waved my hand, Mr. Han. You're being too polite. I just happened to find it by accident. Mr. Han smiled. Are you interested in going to a military academy? I can have Xiao Liu arrange it for you right away. I believe you'll definitely become a pillar of our country in the future. Once he said that, the whole room gasped in surprise. I could only give an awkward smile. Thank you. I appreciate the praise, sir. I actually like my current major. Mr. Han was still smiling. Not bad. That makes me like you even more. I respect your choice, but my offer will always be valid. You can come to me anytime. I quickly gave a shy smile. Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Han. After some polite conversation, Mr. Han left by helicopter. Then Director Chun also left with his team. Only the biochemistry department was left handling the radiation. At that moment, the principal came over and said, Lin, do you have a bank card? I'll transfer the money to you tonight. Hearing that, I immediately took out my bank card and handed it over. Soon my phone notified me that 71,000 yuan had arrived. I thanked the principal right away. Then I grabbed the cameraman and left. That night, lying in bed, I opened up the virtual panel system and spun the lottery twice. The next second, I heard a prompt in my mind. 2 lottery chances used. Skills obtained. Host and Gujang. Hearing that, I was just dumbfounded. What are these 2 skills even good for? I sighed and just went to sleep. Early the next morning, I went to the cafeteria for breakfast with my roommates. I saw the latest school rules posted on the announcement board. No throwing rocks anywhere on campus. At the same time, I heard a notification from the system in my mind. Detected new school rules issued. You've been rewarded with a lottery chance. 1 chance. My roommates Zhang Xiang and Zhao Hua patted me on the shoulder, grinning. Yuan, you're awesome. You got 3 new school rules in just 2 days. I rolled my eyes at them and went straight into the cafeteria. The situation over the past 2 days was so intense. The school gave us a day off. After breakfast, we went back to the dorm. I carried all the rocks Professor Lee had sent over to the balcony. All my roommates rushed out to stop me. Yuan, the new rules say you can't break rocks anywhere. As soon as I finished speaking, I pulled out a rope. I tied up a rock, the size of a basketball, hung it from the clothes rack. Then I grabbed a sledgehammer and started smashing down. After hitting it a dozen times, the rock split with a crack. It fell to the ground. I picked it up to take a look. There really was a shell fossil inside. Now I was even more motivated. Swapped in another rock and kept swinging the hammer. The second rock was about to break open. I put more force into my swing and slammed it down hard. Who could have guessed? Next second, the balcony ceiling just collapsed. Gypsum pieces scattered all over the ground. I quickly covered my head and rushed back to my dorm. Zhang Xiang was coughing badly from the dust. Yuan, you busted through the balcony ceiling. Before he finished, a bunch of rocks, along with two people, all came crashing down together. When the dust finally settled, we saw clearly it was a boy and girl in school uniforms. My brain totally froze. The cameraman and my roommate's mouths were hanging wide enough to fit an egg. The livestream viewers were also stunned. At this point, viewers had already hit 100,000 plus. A quick fun fact: 2/3 of the edge of a rooftop is called a parapet wall. It's filled with foam inside, not concrete. It's very easy to fall down from there. This cemetery must be cursed. Did you really have to smash the rocks? One more hit and the whole building will collapse. Now I finally understand how the principal feels. It's a love-hate relationship, and also totally helpless. Just then, a coughing sound broke the silence. That snapped me out of it. I quickly dragged both people into the dorm. The boy wiped the dust off his face. Are you kidding me? We just wanted to die together quietly. The girl next to him kept wiping away tears. Is even dying this hard? I quickly asked if they were okay. The boy gave a self-deprecating smile, then suddenly started singing. I twitched a little. What time do you think this is? And he's singing? Only after some questioning did I get the story. The boy's name is Huang Damao. The girl's name is Xiaoyaya. They've been childhood sweethearts. Promised to get married after graduation, but their parents hate each other. Absolutely won't allow it. They got desperate for a moment, so Xiaoyaya dressed up as a boy to go up to the dorm roof together. I rolled my eyes, speechless, not afraid to die. But scared of your family's objection? Your parents' old grudges have nothing to do with you. If you truly want to be together, just get married. They widened their eyes, and both exclaimed, "Get married?" I nodded, "Throw a big grand wedding, so your parents can see how determined you are. Eventually they'll give you their blessing." Huang Damao forced a bitter smile. I don't have money for a wedding. Even if we had one, no one would come. I grinned. None of that is a problem. I'll take care of your wedding. And you'll even make money from it. We'll host it right in our school cafeteria. Everyone who heard this couldn't believe their ears. Jiang Xiang hardly grabbed me, Yuan. Will this actually work? There's no way the school will allow it. I smirked. Where there's a will, there's a way. Just then Zhao Hua walked over to me. Yuan, tell me what to do. I'll cooperate all the way. Jiang Xiang nodded excitedly in agreement. Seeing this, Huang Damao got teary-eyed again. Thank you guys. Considering they were about to die a moment ago, I immediately put my arm around his shoulder. Let's hold the wedding today. We'll have a traditional Chinese wedding. Go rent a nice Chinese wedding outfit. Hearing that, he took Xiaoyaya and headed out right away. I led the rest of the group to persuade the cafeteria manager first. Then I went to look for Professor Li. After I told him my idea, he slapped the table. Nonsense. This is totally absurd. He even told me to beg the principal myself. If you want it, go ask yourself. When I heard that, I sighed. Paleontology really isn't fun. I've heard there are nothing but beauties in the music department. Professor Li was furious, slapping the table again. You're threatening me now, kid. Fine, fine. I'll take you to the principal myself, but I can't promise he'll agree. Then he led me straight to the principal's office. Unexpectedly, the principal agreed right on the spot. The recent events have put everyone at the school on edge. A wedding banquet would lighten the mood. Too bad I have to host clients tonight. Otherwise, I'd go say a few words myself. I quickly thanked him when I heard that, said goodbye to Professor Li and the principal, and we rushed off to print flyers, then set up a table where there was the most foot traffic. Crowds gathered in bigger and bigger numbers. I grabbed the megaphone tonight. Our alum, O Wang, will be hosting his wedding in the main cafeteria. Everyone's invited to join. The principal himself has announced, as long as you bring a wedding gift, you can attend the banquet. As soon as I finished speaking, the crowd went wild. Students started taking photos and sharing it everywhere. Soon more and more people signed up to perform at the event, and lots of people wanted to help set up the candy tables. Soon it was evening. Dama returned with Xiaoyai, along with both their grandparents, the only elders who supported them. By now, a long winding line had formed outside the cafeteria. Students were pouring in from all directions. Even quite a few teachers joined in the fun. The lion dance team started performing. We set up a gift cash desk at the entrance. Before, I had set the banquet budget at $7.50 per person. But the students all spontaneously gave around $15, some even $50 or more. The cafeteria was already packed with no empty seats. I estimated at least 1,500 people showed up. One performance after another on stage had the crowd screaming non-stop. After most people had their fill, the music suddenly stopped. I, as the wedding MC, walked onto the stage in a traditional outfit, looking out at the thick sea of people. Dear guests, on this auspicious day, with the city lights just coming on, we are all gathered here to join in this wonderful event. The Book of Rites says marriage is to unite two families as one. This is the foundation of human society and of all music and ceremony. Today, Huang Damao and Li Xiaoyaya are holding their wedding rites at this auspicious moment. May they share a lifetime of happiness. As I finished speaking, a wave of applause broke out. The viewers in the live stream were going crazy as well. Popularity was skyrocketing. These lines and this delivery, even someone from the broadcasting department, probably couldn't capture this vibe. It's just a cafeteria. So how does it sound like an imperial temple ceremony? This is the right atmosphere? My ancestral blood is fired up now. As the applause faded, I extended my right hand. This hall might not have ornate beams and pillars, but it is decorated with true feelings. And though it's not filled with gold and jewels, it's filled with 1,000 sincere hearts to celebrate. The red banner hangs high, a symbol of our passionate youth. The brilliant lights, the bright future for the newlyweds. This moment is witnessed by heaven and earth. The auspicious time has come. Saying that, I raise my arm to point toward the end of the red carpet, inviting the newlyweds to step into the ceremonial hall. Everyone looked toward where my hand was pointing. I saw Damao and Xiaoyaya dressed in traditional bright red Chinese wedding attire, slowly walking towards us. As they got closer, I stepped to the side of the newlyweds, composed myself, and began the wedding ceremony. First, bow to heaven and earth. Thank the sky for its blessings and the earth for its nurture, for raising such deep love. The couple bowed together outside the cafeteria entrance at my cue. Second, bow to the parents, wishing the elders longevity and blessings. May the family flourish forever. The grandparents sitting above were already moved to tears at this moment. The couple bowed to each other, swearing to be together for 3 lifetimes until old age. This final bow was even deeper from both of them. When they stood up, Damao tightly held Xiaoya's hand. I looked at them with a smile and loudly announced the completion of the ceremony, congratulating the groom and the bride, wishing you both a bright future. The entire cafeteria instantly erupted. Right at that moment, Zha Hua grabbed the microphone and rushed onto the stage, calling out to everyone. Today's wedding was all planned by Yuan Jie. We strongly demand that Yuan Jie come on stage to perform. This statement immediately set off a huge uproar. Cheers and shouts filled the air, facing everyone's enthusiasm. I had no choice but to take the microphone again. Everyone's invitation is just too sincere, so I'll just do something casual. As soon as I finished speaking, I walked up to the school beauty Shen Wanyu, who had just performed. Gorgeous lady, may I borrow your guzheng for a moment? Then I walked to the center of the stage and asked the stage crew to play the background music, holding the guzheng upright in my arms with one hand. Right at that moment, the melody of Cloud Palace fast music suddenly burst from the guzheng. My classmates were stunned at first, then quickly nodded along with the rhythm. The rhythm under my hands got faster and faster. A few male music majors just couldn't hold back anymore. They rushed onto the stage with their instruments. And right after that, several female vocal majors also ran on stage, spinning and singing around the stage. Someone suddenly shouted, and everyone quickly gathered in front of the stage, dancing wildly to the guzheng's beat. The cafeteria completely turned into a dance party. I fully let loose as well. When the piece ended, I played another song, Red Sun. With the music students' cooperation, The atmosphere reached its peak. Even the usually composed teachers joined in and started grooving. The wedding lasted over 2 hours. After the students left, I handed a stack of cash to Damao. After deducting the cost of food and the venue, we made over 60,000 yuan in total. Take it quickly. Damao still tried to refuse, but I stopped him with just a look. He could only tearfully say thank you. Right at that moment, the cafeteria manager hurried over. Who among you scooped up the principal's fish? Jiang Xiang scratched his head awkwardly. I thought they were just regular little fish, so I had the culinary students fry them up. The manager stomped his feet anxiously. The principal just brought those in this morning, and specially told me to take care of them. They were supposed to be used tonight, but now they're all gone. And at this hour, there's no way to buy such small fish. I grabbed the manager's hand as he kept scratching his head. Were they those tiny fish about the size of a wheat grain? When he nodded, I waved my hand decisively. I'll go buy those fish right now. After saying that, I took my roommates to the largest foot spa nearby. At the entrance, I turned to the cashier behind the bar. Do you sell those little fish that eat dead skin here? The price is negotiable. At that moment, the manager heard us and walked over. After some negotiation, I bought over 100 little fish for 200 yuan and took them back. Then I delivered them straight to the cafeteria manager. That night, just as I was about to go to sleep, Professor Li suddenly called and asked me to go to the infirmary. When I arrived, I saw the principal trembling and pointing at me. Li Yuan, tell me honestly, where did you get those little fish? I scratched my head awkwardly. I bought them from a foot spa. Professor Li was shocked by my answer. You mean the kind that eat foot skin? I nodded stiffly. The infirmary immediately fell silent. Right at that moment, the guy on the next bed suddenly jumped up. Professor Li looked at me with deep disappointment. He pointed toward the bathroom. Those fish were prepared by the principal to entertain President Yang. Halfway through eating, I ended up in the infirmary with stomach pain. The school doctor checked us and said we all had athlete's foot in our mouths. Hearing that, I shrank my neck in worry. How was I supposed to know those fish were meant to be eaten? As soon as these words came out, the principal almost passed out from anger. At that moment, the live chat was already exploding with laughter. The stream's popularity skyrocketed. Therapy fish ended up deep fried and eaten. Now President Yang will probably throw up every time he sees little fish. Just as expected, we got a ruthless scolding. The principal couldn't take it anymore. He immediately called his secretary on the spot. Issued a new school rule today. No hosting wedding banquets on campus. No fishing from the cafeteria fish tank. That night, after I lay in bed, I immediately did a lucky draw. The system prompt followed. 1 chance consumed. I landed a kung fu skill. The next second, I shot up from my bed, feeling an incredible surge of power all over my body. My heart was pounding with excitement. The next morning, my roommates and I went to the cafeteria for breakfast as usual. A crowd had gathered near the bulletin board again. We squeezed over to take a look. Sure enough, there was another new school rule. The system also notified me that I received another lucky draw opportunity. After breakfast, I parted ways with the others. Took the cameraman to Professor Li's office. He looked at me irritably. Why are you here again? Still haven't smashed enough rocks from yesterday? I waved my hands repeatedly. You should just take those rocks back. I'm never breaking them again. Professor Li couldn't help but laugh. Then pick a different topic. Study the campus ecosystem. The metal deposits and relic residues in modern artifacts. Find some metal objects from different eras. Analyze the corrosion patterns based on the environment. I left the office frowning, thinking as I walked about where to find materials. Before I knew it, I'd reached the edge of the campus lake. Suddenly, a light bulb went off in my head. The lake has been here since the school was built. All these years, who knows how much stuff has been thrown in. They're all buried under the mud at the bottom. After all these years, they've been soaked and rusted to varying degrees. Perfect for the research requirements. Thinking of this, I headed straight back to Professor Li's office. Professor, do you know where I can find a strong magnet? We're not allowed to dig up soil on campus. I plan to fish things out of the lake to study them. Hearing this, Professor Li's eyes lit up. You've got a sharp mind, kid. I'll help you over at the physics department. Soon after,
He put the magnet in my hand.
Be careful. Only work from the shore. Do not go into the water. Keep a record of everything you recover. Log everything properly. I left happily with the magnet in hand. Relax, I know what I'm doing. A few minutes later, I took the cameraman to the center of the campus lake, tossed the strong magnet into the water. Once I felt resistance on the rope, I pulled hard to reel it in. In no time, I dragged up a cell phone, looked at it a couple times and tossed it aside, threw the magnet in a different direction. This time I pulled up an old, beat-up laptop. The ports were wrapped tightly with heavy iron wires. I picked up the still dripping laptop. Even came with some torture tools. What on earth was stored in here? The cameraman kept nodding. Too bad, it's broken. Otherwise, we could have plugged it in to investigate. I casually tossed it aside, cast the magnet in again, this time pulling the rope. I felt even more resistance, much heavier than the laptop. I called out for the cameraman to help. He quickly rushed over to assist me. I gritted my teeth tightly. Did we hook a motorcycle down there or what? Why is it so heavy? The veins were popping out in the cameraman's neck. Bro, I can't go on. My hands are about to fall off. I braced both feet against the railing. Give it everything you've got. We're almost there. Finally, when we were both exhausted, a safe burst out of the water. We mustered all our strength and hauled it up. The cameraman circled around the safe. Bro, looks like this safe has never been opened. Think there could be something good inside? I nodded. It's possible. Check out this dent. Someone clearly tried to force it open. But when they failed, they just dumped it in the lake. After saying that, I shook the safe. Judging by the sound, there's definitely something inside. We'll go back and pry it open. Then decide if we need to call the police. After that, I left the safe to the side and continued dredging. But the next few times, a string of bizarre items kept coming up. I was starting to lose patience. I took the magnet to a deeper part of the lake, took a deep breath, and hurled the magnet towards the center. There was immediate resistance on the rope. I yanked it up to see that it was actually a crowbar. Immediately, I thought of the earlier safe. Could it really be this much of a coincidence? I tossed the crowbar aside and threw the magnet in again. This time, a bigger hammer came up. On the third throw, I pulled up a knife. The cameraman's expression changed. Bro, maybe we should stop for now. Why does it feel so creepy even in broad daylight? The livestream chat exploded. Viewership shot up. Lame Yuan must be the real strong magnet. Found an aerial bomb while digging. Collapsed the whole field, smashing rocks. Now dredging, something crazy will definitely happen again. I took a deep breath and forced down the uneasy feeling. Cast the magnet into the water again. This time it was a boning knife. Stuck in the crevice near the handle was some stubborn blackish-brown gunk. The cameraman leaned in. Bro, could this be a murder weapon? Hearing that, I quickly tossed the magnet back in the water. A few seconds later, the rope suddenly went taut, almost yanking me into the lake. I called out to the cameraman for help. This is definitely something huge. We both had to lean back with all our strength, dragging the rope in inch by inch. I clenched my back teeth. Damn. Is this a safe's big brother or what? Why is it so heavy? Finally, as we were both on the verge of collapse, a gigantic black suitcase erupted from the water. I was stunned. No way did I really just pull up a corpse. We worked together to drag the suitcase ashore. I picked up the crowbar nearby and levered up the unzipped part of the zipper. Right at that moment, a huge blood-red maw full of teeth lunged out, biting down hard on the crowbar. I instinctively gripped the other end. My whole body froze on the spot. There was actually a 3-foot-long crocodile in front of me. How the hell did that end up in the campus lake? It kept biting the crowbar and wouldn't let go. Seeing this, I immediately grabbed the hammer off the ground and swung it at its head with all my strength. The crocodile's body suddenly froze. Its biting force weakened significantly. I struck it several more times in a row. It finally let go of the crowbar completely, collapsed motionless beside the suitcase. I threw away the crowbar and hammer and dropped heavily to the ground, gasping for air. Thankfully, I had the combat skills I got from the system. Otherwise, with those sharp teeth, my hand would probably be ruined. The cameraman took a long time before nervously coming over. Yuan, did you kill the crocodile? I shook my head. It should just be unconscious. After I calmed down, my hand still trembling, I pulled out my phone to call Professor Lee. A few seconds later, Professor Lee's hearty laughter came through. Lin Yuan, did you find the materials? I replied bitterly, materials? Forget it. I almost lost my life. Do you believe I just pulled up a crocodile? His voice shot up in surprise. Make sure to keep yourself safe. I'll be there right away. Not long after I hung up, Professor Lee came jogging over, out of breath. When he saw the crocodile on the ground, his eyes nearly popped out. How could this thing be at school? He immediately pulled out his phone to call the principal. Less than 10 minutes later, Principal Wang arrived with several school administrators. They all hurried over anxiously. When they saw the crocodile, everyone's face turned pale. Find out right now how this crocodile got in here. This must be thoroughly investigated. He pointed at the school administrators behind him and started scolding them harshly, then took out his phone and called 110. Soon after, police cars and a Wildlife Protection Association vehicle arrived. After checking the situation, a police officer immediately reported to Captain Zhao. Upon inspection, the crocodile was just unconscious and showed signs of being raised by humans. Just as the staff were preparing to take the crocodile away, a system notification suddenly appeared before my eyes. Homicide information detected. In the crocodile's fresh waste, there's a very high concentration of human skin and hair, as well as degraded fragments of muscle tissue, indicating this crocodile once systematically and a large-scale consumed human remains. Seeing this, I suddenly looked up. Wait, Captain Zhao turned to me. Lin Yuan, did you find anything else? I quickly walked over and squatted by the crocodile's feces, then picked up a twig and carefully poked around inside. Captain Zhao, look at this. Seeing this, his expression became grim. That's hair. I continued to poke with the twig. More and more hair was picked out. Captain Zhao abruptly stood up. Quick, call the medical examiner and notify the crime unit for backup. Seal off the scene immediately. While waiting for the forensics team, I handed over the crowbar, knife, and other items to him. Soon, several police cars arrived with sirens blaring, followed by a team of detectives, and the forensic and tech crews rushed over. Captain Zhao greeted them immediately, pointed at the crocodile feces. Extract the hair for preliminary testing, and check all these retrieved tools carefully. Everything must be examined thoroughly. He then pointed to another area. Take the laptop back to the department for recovery. Open the safe on site. The salvage team will search for more clues underwater. After the orders were given, everyone immediately got to work. Captain Zhao pulled the cameraman and me aside and asked in detail where each item was found, as well as what the situation was like at the time. Not far away, a technician opened the safe with some tools, pulled out a big bag from inside. It was full of 100 yuan bills. A rough count showed at least 2 to 300,000. Just when everyone thought nothing else was in the safe, I suddenly stepped forward. Wait, in the corner, there seems to be something embedded there. I then reached in and took out an SD card from the inside wall. Captain Zhao's eyes lit up when he saw this. Get a card reader and a computer, quick. After some work by the tech crew, the SD card was successfully opened. There was only one video file on it. Pressed play. A large breeding tank appeared on the screen. A crocodile suddenly lunged up and grabbed a piece of meat. A glimpse of a rubber glove flashed at the top. The video ended after just a dozen seconds. Everyone looked both shocked and suspicious. The texture of that piece of meat just now was clearly not ordinary edible meat. And with the hair found in the feces, the answer was obvious. Captain Zhao immediately turned to the medical examiner. Any results yet? The medical examiner quickly walked over. After preliminary tests, the hair in the feces was confirmed to be human. Also, blood was detected on both the knife and the boning knife. Hearing this, Captain Zhao's face turned dark. Contact the waterworks and fire department. Get the most powerful water pumps. The next second, officers rushed to contact the live stream room. Netizens were completely terrified. Popularity continued to soar. Beside them, the principal's face turned pale. We must investigate this thoroughly. The school will fully cooperate. Just then, the dean arrived with a boy wearing glasses. Principal, this student says he might have seen the crocodile before. The principal immediately got excited. Where did you see it? The boy's voice trembled with fear. The night before last, after 10 p.m., near the medical building, I seemed to hear the sound of a beast chewing something. I was terrified at the time. Before I ran, I caught a glimpse of a large black shadow darting past. As he spoke, he stared at the bound crocodile for a long time. It was too dark then. I'm not sure if it was this one. After comforting the boy, everyone's eyes turned toward me. I scratched my head awkwardly. What's wrong? The principal gave a bitter smile. Wasn't it the aerial bomb you dug up that exploded the day before yesterday? Hearing this, my eyes lit up. The culprit definitely wouldn't just release it randomly. It must have been the sound of the bomb explosion the day before yesterday. That terrified it. And it escaped while no one was at the school. The timing matches what that student said. So the answer is likely near the medical building. Everyone agreed with my reasoning. Then, Captain Zhao and the principal led teams to start a search. Professor Li and I followed them. Captain Zhao headed straight for the location the student mentioned. I followed the principal and the police toward the top floor. That was the Department of Medicine, Director Chun's private laboratory and office. On the way, the principal kept saying Director Chun was a kind person, who even frequently sponsored homeless people. This floor of private labs was a special grant from the school. Upon reaching the office door, he knocked but received no response. After applying more force, the door actually swung open. The interior was very simple. You could tell at a glance. It couldn't possibly hide a crocodile. The police did a brief check and then backed out. Seeing this, the principal turned and headed toward the laboratory next door. Just then, a gentle voice came from behind. "Principal, why are you all here?" Then, Director Chun walked out from the stairwell. The principal hurried forward and explained everything happening at school. After listening, Director Chun immediately opened the lab door. There was nothing special inside, just some instruments and skeletal specimens. The police found no issues after checking. Just as everyone was about to turn and leave, I accidentally glanced at a human skeletal specimen by the wall. The system notification immediately popped up. Deceased, Zhang Chenghai, 38-year-old male, a homeless person who went missing 8 months ago. Struck in the head with a blunt object. Died from excessive blood loss. I suppressed the shock in my heart and followed the group out of the medical building. We happened to meet Captain Zhao coming out of the warehouse. He shook his head, indicating they found nothing. At that moment, I stepped forward and pulled the principal aside. Is our school's procurement channel for human specimens legitimate? Are there source records? The principal gave me a puzzled look. Of course it's legitimate. They are all legally purchased or donated. Why do you ask? I frowned. I was in Director Chun's lab just now, and I seemed to glimpse that skeleton in the corner. The color of the back of its head seemed off, like there was a depression or a crack. In the video of the crocodile being fed, there was only meat, combined with that deboning knife. I'm wondering if the victims were turned into specimens. Captain Zhao's gaze sharpened. Are you sure you didn't miss it? I intentionally paused for a few seconds. I was a bit far away, so I can't be certain. It just felt strange. Captain Zhao immediately ordered other officers to continue the search. He then returned to the top floor office with us. He walked up to the specimen and examined it closely. He found that there was indeed a slight linear depression on the skull, along with radiating cracks. The principal immediately turned to Director Chun. What is going on here? The other man simply smiled slightly. A student accidentally dropped it while moving it before, because it was slightly damaged. It has been kept here. Hearing this, I immediately grabbed Captain Zhao. Have a forensic expert examine it. Then we'll know the truth. Captain Zhao nodded, picked up his walkie-talkie and called for forensics. At that moment, Director Chun's smile stiffened for a second. The principal, seeing this, furrowed his brows deeply. Old Chun, this is no small matter.
Take us to the storage room.
I want to see this year's specimens. Director Chun nodded and led us to the basement level. The moment the door opened, the scent of formalin rushed toward us. The instant the lights were turned on, system notifications popped up frantically. Deceased, Li. Homeless person, died of suffocation. Deceased, Wang. Homeless person, heart pierced by a sharp object. At this moment, my heart was racing. It turned out these specimens were all murdered homeless men. Just then, Director Chun, wielding a baseball bat, knocked Captain Zhao unconscious with a direct hit. The principal's face turned white with shock. Are you crazy? I looked coldly at Director Chun. You're the owner of the crocodile. The specimens upstairs are the victims. You're afraid forensics will find the truth. So you're going for broke, right? He looked at me with an exceptionally cold gaze. It was the bomb you dug up that scared the crocodile away. And now you've caused me to be exposed. Today I'm going to turn you into a specimen. As he spoke, he lunged toward the power distribution box. After quickly entering a password, he pressed the red button next to it. A side wall suddenly cracked open, revealing a secret room. The cameraman's voice was trembling. That's the place from the video. The next second, a massive black shadow slowly crawled out. It was a full-grown large crocodile, nearly 3 meters long. The principal, the cameraman, and the others let out terrified screams on the spot. Director Chun stood on a high platform. Go ahead and eat. This is your last meal today. The giant crocodile seemed to understand him and lunged first toward the unconscious Captain Zhao. In the nick of time, I dashed forward, reached out to drag Captain Zhao away from the crocodile's jaws, and threw him toward the cameraman. The giant crocodile immediately swung its tail and rushed at me. I grabbed a scattered metal bracket nearby. The moment it opened its mouth, I jammed it firmly inside its jaws. The beast that was just moments ago full of lethal fury was now left fruitlessly twisting around. Then, amidst the gasps of the crowd, I slammed a fist into the crocodile's head. The metal bracket pierced right through its upper and lower jaws. The giant crocodile stopped moving on the spot. I turned and rushed toward Director Chun. I placed one hand on the edge of the high platform, pushed up with my core and flipped onto it, following through with a high kick. My leg struck his chin. Director Chun's eyes rolled back, and he fell straight down from the high platform.
He lay on the ground, twitching all over.
With saliva constantly flowing out. The principal and the others were completely shell-shocked. The cameraman swallowed hard. Brother Yuan, he's not dead, is he? I easily jumped down from the high platform and glanced at Director Chun. Then I just fainted. Professor Lee finally realized I was fine. Lin Yuan, are you okay? How did you become so good at fighting? I scratched my head. I just never had the chance to show it before. The principal stepped in at that moment. Let's not talk about this now. Hurry and get someone to take Captain Zhao to the hospital. Only then did we come to our senses. We called, and not long after, a large group of police officers arrived. They subdued the alligator and Director Chun. After some examinations, Captain Zhao turned out to be fine. He looked terrified after he woke up and heard what happened. After that, as an important witness, I went with them to the police station to give a statement. That's when I found out Director Chan was actually mentally ill. He had an extreme obsession with making specimens, pretended to be a good guy, specialized in luring homeless people, used his alligator to dispose of the bodies, then openly displayed the specimens in his office. The safe from before was actually stolen by a student from another school. That student tried to blackmail him after learning the secret and became a specimen too. If I hadn't pulled up the alligator in the safe, who knows how many more victims there would be. It was already dark when I left the police station. Captain Zhao personally drove me back to school. When I got back to my dorm room, I looked at the system panel, unable to contain my excitement. The kung fu I won yesterday really saved my life. Thinking of this, I immediately started the lottery. The next second, the system notified that one lottery chance was used. I got the skill bomb disposal expert. I was stunned right there. Is the system trying to hint at something? The next day, when my roommates and I walked to the cafeteria, there was already a big crowd around the bulletin board. 2 new school rules have been added. No keeping alligators in school. No using strong magnets to salvage things from the artificial lake. The system immediately rewarded me with 2 more lottery chances. After lunch, I said goodbye to my roommates and went to Professor Lee's office. As soon as he saw me, he backed away. I was left dumbfounded at the door. Professor, is this really necessary? Professor Lee practically exploded when he heard that. Of course it's necessary. Do you know what kind of days I've been through lately? There are no classes today. The principal said the whole school will recognize you. Go to the broadcasting room and give a speech. Just say a few words to thank the leadership and encourage your classmates. Seeing him like that, I was helpless. I could only agree. When I got to the broadcasting room, the teacher in charge wasn't there yet, so I had to wait inside with the cameraman. I fiddled boredly with the buttons beside me. What's up with Professor Lee today? Did his wife yell at him? Or is he going through a midlife crisis? The cameraman chuckled. Maybe he's just stressed out. I sat up straight. What do you think of our principal? The cameraman thought for a bit. He's a responsible principal. I rolled my eyes immediately. Yeah, right. Last time I went to his office, I accidentally saw him dressed as a woman with a wig taking selfies. He was even pouting and making peace signs. He's so old and still not embarrassed. Just then the cameraman leaned in. What about the dean? He always looks so strict. I snickered. He's all bark and no bite. Fine, let me tell you a secret. You know those ads in the bathroom for certain treatments? One time, I saw him calling one of those numbers on the wall. Guess what for? Which teacher here doesn't have a shady past? One day, when I have time, I'll tell you about every single one. Just then, someone suddenly knocked on the door. Outside was a middle-aged man in old work clothes. He had a worn-out tool bag over his shoulder. When he saw me, he forced a stiff smile. Excuse me, are you Lin Yuan? I nodded. Yeah, that's me. Uncle, who are you? He took 2 steps closer and smiled. My son also goes to school here. He sees you as his idol. And seeing you in person, you really look impressive.
Hearing this,
I immediately stood up to greet him. Hello, sir. You're too kind. The man pointed at the microphone on the table. I'm here to do some maintenance. I quickly stepped aside when I heard that. Right at that moment, he suddenly held a knife to my neck. Don't move or I'll kill you. I could feel his arm trembling. I forced myself to stay calm. Sir, please calm down. I don't think I've ever wronged you, have I? His voice was extremely hoarse. I'm not lying to you. My son's name is Li Xiaoming. He really does see you as his idol. I don't really remember that name. To be honest, I don't really know him. Your son and I had no conflicts at all. He sobbed a couple of times, trying to calm himself down. I never truly wanted to hurt you. If you want to blame someone, blame your school. The administration are a bunch of jerks. Just cooperate with me. I won't hurt you. As he spoke, he actually turned the knife around, using the back of the knife against my neck. My eyes flickered. Then why are you tying me up? Is something wrong with your son? His voice was choked with tears.
he died.
Then he began to speak haltingly. That's when I finally learned. Li Xiaoming was always timid by nature. His family situation was rough. He and his father always relied on each other. He felt bad for how hard his dad worked.
He never told his dad anything bad, only good news.
But eventually, the uncle still found out. He confronted the head teacher but got brushed off. Long-term bullying led Li Xiaoming to severe depression. He ended up taking his own life 2 months ago. That's when I remembered. Li Xiaoming was a shy junior who rarely smiled. I had only helped him out of a tight spot once. He actually kept that in mind all this time. I'm sorry, sir.
If only I had known sooner.
Maybe I could have helped him. So what are you planning to do now? Tears filled the uncle's eyes at once. I just want to make a big deal out of this. Let everyone know about it. Right at that moment, the principal's voice came from the door. Li Xiaoming's parent. Don't get worked up. I'm the principal here. I'm fully aware of everything now. Your son's situation is indeed our school's negligence. I promise you'll get justice. Please let Lin Yuan go first. We can talk it out slowly. As soon as the uncle heard his voice, he immediately turned to the door with me as his hostage. Don't think I'm easy to fool. All of you are scheming snakes. Either call the press and the education authorities, or I'll turn this place upside down today. I'll get justice for my son. Hearing this, the principal turned around angrily. Li Ming, about Li Xiaoming's bullying. Why didn't you report it? How did you handle it? Li Ming turned pale. I've looked into it. It was just a minor student conflict. I criticized and educated those students. I also called their parents. I never thought it would turn out like this. The uncle exploded when he heard that. That's bullshit. My son lost his life, and you're calling it a minor conflict? If you won't give my son justice today, no one leaves here alive. Meanwhile, the live stream viewership shot up fast. Everyone online was furious. I'm in late-stage cancer. Only 2 months left to live. I've always liked standing up for what's right. Any parent whose child is being bullied can come to me. If the money's right, anything can be handled. Have you all noticed? Almost all bullying victims are introverted and withdrawn, while kids who are confident and outgoing barely ever get bullied, because bullying happens once, and then over and over. Kids with healthy personalities tell their parents early on. Those who are insecure often just suffer in silence. Lock all those scumbags up. Right then, the sound of urgent police sirens came from below. Soon, Chief Chun arrived at the broadcast room. "I'm the police chief. You're already surrounded. Put down your weapon now. We can sit down and talk this through. Don't do anything foolish." As soon as Chief Chun finished speaking, several red laser dots landed on the uncle. I knew the snipers were in position. My heart tightened. I immediately looked toward the door. "Chief Chun, don't shoot." I was scared, and the uncle hesitated when he heard me. Suddenly, he shoved me away. "Come on, shoot me. We'll all die together." I staggered a few steps and steadied myself. Turned around, then saw inside his jacket what looked like detonators strapped on. He was holding a lighter in his hand. He opened his bag again. Inside was a glimpse of a timer device wired with red and blue cables on a wooden board. Laughing maniacally, he said, "I came today with no intention to live. My son is dead. So for me, there's nothing left to live for even if you kill me. It's useless. I've already planted timed bombs in the school. If I die, they'll go off immediately." The principal went pale hearing that, nearly blacked out. He almost collapsed. He yelled at the teachers, "Evacuate the whole school now." The teachers instantly ran downstairs. Chief Chun quickly grabbed his radio. "Contact the bomb squad immediately. Tell them to get here as fast as possible. Search the entire school thoroughly." I stood about 10 meters outside the broadcast room, looking at the uncle resolved to die, feeling overwhelmed inside. I couldn't help but step forward. "Uncle, let it go. This isn't the solution. If you die, who will get justice for your son?" I pointed to the cameraman next to us and showed him the camera on his chest. Our conversation just now was broadcasted live. Everyone here saw it, and so did everyone online. You've already gotten the exposure you wanted. There's no need to push it any further. I couldn't help your son before, but this time I'll make sure he gets justice. The principal quickly chimed in. "Lin Yuan is right. If you have anything to say, tell me. I promise those people will pay dearly." Chief Chun also stepped up to my side. "Don't worry. We'll immediately open a case about your son. If anything checks out, anyone involved who broke the law, I guarantee we'll arrest them all. Get justice for your son, with all our persuasion." The uncle's eyes slowly lost their light. His hand with the lighter dropped limply. He stumbled back a step, leaning against the wall, slowly slid down to the floor. The SWAT team, ready for action, quickly subdued the uncle. Others rushed over to check him for explosives. Very soon, a SWAT officer stood up and reported their findings after an initial check. All explosives were fake props. No real danger of explosion. Everyone was stunned. Chief Chun half laughed, half cried, then ordered the SWAT team to stand down. But just as everyone thought the ordeal was over, Captain Zhang from the bomb squad rushed in. "Chief Chun, in the library's ancient books reading room, 3rd row, we found in a hidden compartment atop the bookshelf C4 plastic explosives, weighing about 1.5 kilograms, wired to a high-precision electronic timer, powerful enough to level the entire reading room and adjacent areas. Time left, 3 hours and 38 minutes. As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. Eyes widened in disbelief, turned abruptly to look at the uncle. "What's going on here?" The uncle quickly shook his head. "It really wasn't me. No matter how crazy I am, I'd never hurt innocent kids." Seeing the uncle so anxious he was about to cry, I immediately stepped forward. I believe the uncle didn't do it. If he had malicious intentions, he wouldn't have purposely pushed me away earlier. The bombs were definitely planted by someone else. Chief Chun furrowed his brow, fell into deep thought. Then he gave a stern order into the radio. "Attention, everyone. The emergency command center's authority is now at the highest level. The maintenance team must do whatever it takes. Find all the bombs in the shortest possible time. Investigation unit, listen up. Immediately pull all surveillance from the library and surrounding area. All footage from the past 48 hours. Check every second, every frame. Start signal monitoring at the same time. Search for any abnormal remote or timed signal sources. The SWAT unit will cooperate with faculty and security staff. Evacuate and clear the entire campus within 20 minutes. Set up 3 layers of security perimeters. No unauthorized entry or exit allowed. As a series of orders was issued, everyone started taking action. Soon the air raid siren sounded again. Viewers in the livestream didn't even dare to breathe. The number of viewers kept skyrocketing. Oh my god, this school is terrifying. No, it's Lin Yuan who's terrifying. Anyone associated with him can't get a peaceful day. What's this got to do with Lin Yuan? He's a victim too. It's just a coincidence he was involved. After the preparations were done here, Chief Chun made a call. On the other end was the same person from a few days ago. Director Liu, who had brought Mr. Han over. He heard about the bomb attack at the university and immediately said he would bring reinforcements. Just then, someone ran over to report. In the cafeteria and teaching buildings, 3 more bombs were found one after another. Checked the surveillance. Still didn't find any suspicious individuals. All the locations where the bombs were placed were blind spots in the surveillance. At that moment, backup arrived. The convoy stopped steadily at the perimeter. Director Liu got out with 2 rows of soldiers. Chief Chan immediately went up to them.
Gave a brief situation report.
All the bombs found so far have complex structures. There may be anti-tamper devices. Director Liu gave a slight nod. From now on, bomb disposal and electronic surveillance will be handled by our side. The police will be responsible for external order and intelligence support. Chief Chun immediately agreed. After the bomb disposal unit joined, the pressure on the technical team dropped sharply. In less than half an hour, 11 more timed bombs were found. The countdown on them is the same as before. Now there's just over an hour until the explosion. Director Liu frowned tightly. Keep searching. Be sure to find every bomb. Has the bomb assessment been done? The lead bomb disposal officer looked troubled. Sir, these bombs have built-in mercury tilt switches. A slight tilt will trigger an instant explosion. The bombs can't be moved to the blast-proof tank or taken to the field for disposal. Disarming them on the spot is extremely difficult. The bomb squad then pulled up the structural diagram. The timer uses a dual-circuit redundancy design. Even if the main line is cut, the backup circuit will still function. The shell has anti-disassembly devices. If opened improperly or a wrong wire is cut, it'll trigger immediately. The principal's voice was trembling. Does this mean the school can't escape its fate of being bombed? At that moment, I stepped forward. Maybe I can help. Director Chan immediately reprimanded Lin Yuan. Don't mess around. This is not the time to play hero. Chief Liu nodded as well. Lin Yuan, student, old Mr. Han specifically asked us to take care of you, so don't do anything reckless. The principal quickly pulled me back. This kid was traumatized by the kidnapping today. I sighed helplessly. I'm not joking. Did you forget about the aerial bombs and nuclear warheads before? When it comes to bombs, I'm a professional, and I'm 100% confident I can disarm them. Director Yu's pupils contracted. How do you plan to disarm it? I picked up the earlier schematic. Look, this thick red wire. It looks like the main power line, right? Actually, it's the first trap. Inside, there are thin memory alloy wires wrapped around. Once the current is cut off, the wires cool down and contract. They directly snap the real safety fuse next to them. I pointed at another spot, also. This seemingly unnecessary capacitor bank. It's actually the key to triggering the oscillating circuit. If you cut the green clock signal wire first, the accumulated charge will surge into the detonator instantly. The bomb disposal expert magnified the image to check. Sure enough, it's exactly as I described. He took a sharp breath. His gaze at me completely changed. Chief Liu couldn't help but ask, so tell us, how should we solve this? I smiled. It's simple. We need to break conventional thinking. We're not cutting wires. We're going to feed it. I pointed at the schematic. See, this parallel capacitor bank and redundant circuit. They jointly maintain a dangerous balance. All we need to do at this node is connect a high-precision regulated power supply and supply a stable current far beyond what it needs. When the external supply vastly exceeds the internal consumption, these two will overload and enter protective sleep mode, the sensitive trigger mechanism of the whole circuit. will temporarily become inactive. The timer will stop. The signal monitoring of the anti-disassembly device will also become chaotic due to energy overflow. At that point, we'll have enough of a safety window to directly remove the casing, take out the explosives and hidden mechanisms. The bomb disposal expert stared at the schematic for a few seconds, then suddenly took a sharp breath. The genius who made this bomb would never expect someone to disarm it this way. This plan is extremely reliable. Chief Liu heard this and immediately looked at me. What do you need? We'll fully support you. I pointed at the bomb disposal expert. I need him as my assistant, and the most precise bomb disposal tools, plus an absolutely quiet environment. Chief Liu immediately looked at the bomb disposal expert. Cooperate with Ling Yuan and ensure his safety. By now, the live stream comments have exploded. Damn, this kid pulled it off again. Same 9 years of compulsory education. Lin Yuan got the education. I got the obligation. Next, under everyone's gaze, the bomb disposal expert and I entered a temporary lockdown area. We first went to the nearest bomb. I quietly observed for a moment, then looked at the bomb disposal expert. Please help me stabilize the casing. When he heard that, he immediately stepped forward and pressed the bomb firmly. I picked up a specialized fiber optic scope, carefully inserted it into the pressette gap, avoiding the internal laser sensors. The designer was very cunning, using a Russian nesting doll structure. The outer layer is a misleading parallel circuit. Cutting any wire wrong will blow it immediately. The real core control unit is hidden in the inner independent shield. As I spoke, I picked up the ultra-low temperature spray, locally froze specific connection points on the shell, then used a precision electric grinder pen and cut a tiny opening with micron-level precision. This row of blue resistors forms a fake voltage distribution network. If you try to divert the current conventionally, it will instantly trigger an explosion. Then I gently moved the wire aside with an insulated probe, revealing the truly critical vestibule trigger beneath. The real dismantling sequence is: first, use a microcurrent to short-circuit the trigger's reset terminal. Keep it silent. Then simultaneously cut these 3 gold data bus wires. As soon as I finished speaking, I cut the 3 wires at once. The timer display suddenly stopped at 1 hour and 12 minutes, after the first bomb was successfully disarmed. The bomb disposal expert and I moved to the cafeteria. We found the bomb there had another trick, but I disarmed it successfully within a minute. Then I went on to disarm one after another. The moment the last bomb was disarmed, the scene erupted in deafening cheers and applause. Every soldier looked at me as if I were a hero. The principal was the first to rush over, patting my shoulder. Ning Yuan, I knew you could be trusted. The school is really lucky to have you.
Director Chun smiled and nodded.
Didn't expect you'd be this impressive. With these skills, you could go straight to the military. We'll make sure to put you on a pedestal. Right, Chief Liu? Chief Liu smiled slightly, with old Mr. Han as your guarantor. Plus, this technology. As long as you're willing to join the military, your future achievements will surpass mine. I felt a little embarrassed by all the praise. Scratched my head. I'm just lucky. Is it really that exaggerated? As soon as I said that, everyone couldn't help but laugh. The popularity in the live stream kept skyrocketing. Comments from netizens were full of envy. It's true, comparison drives people crazy. You say he's a good student, but he hasn't finished a single assignment so far, and always causes trouble. But if you say he's not good, even his future path is already paved. Suddenly I feel like I'm doing okay. A Maybach, a small villa worth 2 million. My wife treats me exceptionally well. The only thing that's not ideal is his son is 10 years older than me, and won't call me dad. Next, the police and military mobilized everyone to continue searching until the last 10 seconds of the countdown. No new bombs were found. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After Chief Liu confirmed with all units, he announced the crisis was over. Soldiers and police officers hugged each other in excitement. Then, not sure who started it, they lifted me up directly and threw me into the air. In the end, it was Chief Liu who told them to put me down. Just then, a police officer hurried over to report. Director Chun. 3 students in school uniforms appeared in the campus square, each carrying a white plastic bucket. Their behavior was very suspicious. We immediately headed to the campus square after hearing that. From a distance, we saw the three students raise their buckets, about to pour them over their heads. Several SWAT officers rushed up and tackled all three at once. When we got closer, a strong smell of gasoline hit us. The actions of these three were highly suspicious. They could be connected with the bombing case. The principal glared at the three. "What are your names? Which class are you in? What are you guys trying to do?" Two tilted their heads back and said nothing. Only one timidly lowered his head. "My name is Yang Wei. I'm from Class 5, sophomore year computer science. We were planning to set ourselves on fire here with gasoline." The principal's pupils contracted suddenly. "You kids are so young. Why would you choose such an extreme path?" Yang Wei instantly burst into tears. "They tricked me into coming. Principal, I regret it now. Please save me." The tall guy glared at him intensely. "You traitor." Seeing this, the police immediately pulled him aside. Director Chun stared into his eyes. "Are you involved with the bomb incident?" Yang Wei shook his head quickly. "We don't know anything about it. About the bomb. I met them in a group chat called Yoka. Someone in the group started a challenge. I was impulsive and joined at that moment. But when things got real, I got scared."
Hearing this,
Director Chan's expression instantly became grave. "Show me that group you mentioned." Yang Wei quickly pulled out his phone. He opened the Yoda group and handed it over. After being checked by tech specialists, they found the group members came from all over Zihai City, including both adults and students. The chat history was full of negative, suicidal messages. The group didn't just have hopeless people. There were also quite a few adults intentionally steering and encouraging others. They shared detailed methods for suicide. Yang Wei was only there because his poor grades and pressure from his parents pushed him over the edge. He joined the group in a moment of despair. Then, after being encouraged by many people, he joined the challenge. He only regretted it at the very last moment. After seeing the chat history, everyone was furious. They couldn't believe such monsters were hiding on the internet. Director Chun immediately ordered a thorough investigation. After the order was given, soon, the identities of several involved individuals were uncovered. But the person who initiated this self-immolation challenge couldn't be traced. All his identity information was fake. This bomb case was most likely his doing. Director Chun had no choice. So he ordered the group owner to be brought in for questioning. According to his statement, the organizer asked him to help spread messages encouraging suicide, left money at a designated spot for him to pick up. So he really didn't know who the person was, but every time he got the money, it always had a sour and rusty metallic smell. Just like that, the investigation hit a dead end again. At that moment, I suddenly stepped forward. "Director Liu, Director Chun, I might be able to find that person. A scent that's both sour and has metallic rust. Very likely comes from acid pickling used in metal recycling. It should be a decently sized scrap recycling plant. And the person clearly knows our school pretty well, so it's probably not far from here." The Yancheng Bureau immediately ordered a sweep of local scrapyards. The police acted quickly and soon pinpointed a scrap factory about 5 kilometers away. He immediately took a team to make the arrest. As a key analyst, I was allowed to go along. Director Liu stayed back at the school.
10 minutes later,
The car stopped in front of a rundown yard. As soon as we got out, we smelled that mixture of sour and rusty metal in the air. This confirmed my suspicion even more. With Director Chun's command, the officers charged into the factory all at once. But after a thorough search, they didn't find anyone at all. Just then, an officer ran over to report to Chen that in the middle of the yard a sign was stuck in the ground. It reads "Surprise." We immediately headed deeper into the factory. At that moment, I noticed cracks in the dirt under the selfie spot. As I pried up a chunk of dried dirt, I found a digital display, a timer underneath. The countdown only showed 2 minutes left. At the same time, a system panel suddenly popped up. Host is facing a major crisis. More than 3 tons of bombs detected underground. These bombs are leftovers from World War II, buried underground by the owner. I quickly waved for everyone to run. There are timed bombs underground. There's less than 2 minutes left. Hearing this, Director Chun immediately called everyone, and everyone evacuated to a safe distance at once. Everyone rushed into the vehicles. The driver floored the gas pedal. We had barely driven 500 meters away. when from the scrapyard behind us. Right after that, chain reactions erupted from all directions. All the bombs underground were ignited. The ground of the scrapyard was violently blown up. Flames instantly engulfed the entire facility. Thick smoke formed a towering column rising straight into the sky. The police car was still speeding away. The sound of explosions continued behind them. At this moment, the scrapyard had long been completely consumed by flames and smoke. After driving 2 kilometers, the explosions turned into scattered noises. After confirming safety, Director Chun ordered the car to stop.
He then got out and looked toward the scrapyard.
He took a sharp breath, then turned to look at me. Why does something always explode wherever you go? I rolled my eyes. What does this have to do with me? I'm not the one who planted the bombs.
10 minutes later.
The explosions completely stopped. Director Chun decisively ordered everyone back to the site. Stay alert on the way. Watch out for unexploded bombs and dangerous structures. The convoy set off again. The scenes along the way were shocking. When we reached the area near the original scrapyard gate, we saw the factory had been turned into a giant scorched pit. The whole area was utterly lifeless. Only ashes blown up by the wind remained. Director Chang got out and looked around. Have the bomb squad conduct a thorough search. Notify the fire department to detail the explosion situation.
Technicians.
Immediately check all information on the scrapyard owner. Collect evidence once safety is confirmed. Order the police to set up checkpoints at all highway exits in Zihai City, as well as national roads, high-speed rail, and airports. Carry out a thorough investigation. We absolutely cannot let the suspect escape. Everyone responded in unison. Right then, I suddenly stepped forward. Director Chan, what we know now is, the bomb at the school was set by that owner, but I don't think he'll run. Do you remember that sign? He guessed we'd come, so he set up timed bombs in advance. He dared to bomb the police, which means he no longer cares about his own life. Based on his previous behavior, this is more like taking revenge on society. If I were him, I certainly wouldn't run now. Just as I finished, Director Chun's eyes suddenly narrowed. You mean the students moved to the park? I nodded. That's right. The park must be chaotic now. All the students are gathered there, for someone bent on revenge against the society. Now is the perfect opportunity to act. After hearing this, Director Chun felt a chill run straight up his spine. He immediately contacted Commander Liu and the command center, and activated the highest alert. Then he turned to everyone. Everyone, get to Shishan Park right away. If you spot any suspicious person, take them down immediately. As soon as he finished, everyone quickly got into the vehicles. On the way, Director Chung kept issuing orders over the radio. Inform traffic police to clear an emergency route. Contact the principal. Keep the students calm. Report any suspicious people at once. By the time we arrived at the park, Commander Liu was already leading the search. At this moment, the tens of thousands of students here seemed much more relaxed. Some were chatting and joking in groups. It was chaotic on the scene. Right then, suddenly, a startled cry came from the crowd. A sanitation worker was subdued on the spot by the police. They lifted his shirt and found several C4 bombs hidden underneath. Nearby students screamed in terror. Director Chun immediately ordered the bomb disposal team to handle it. Meanwhile, reports kept coming in. A suspect disguised as a gardener was caught in the east bush. A homemade grenade was found near the restrooms to the west. A suspicious person was caught carrying flammable items and a remote control device. In the north parking lot, inside an unlicensed van, a large amount of explosives and tools were found. The suspect resisted arrest, was shot and brought under control. 4 criminals were caught in a row, including the scrapyard owner. Just as expected, he didn't run. Instead, he hid in the park. Fortunately, the area was tightly secured. Strangers weren't allowed near the students, so they weren't able to set off the explosives. Teachers and armed police quickly guided the students to open areas. Panic briefly spread on the scene. Director Chun and Commander Liu stood next to the command vehicle, their faces stern as they watched the chaos. 2 hours later, after multiple rounds of grid search, it was confirmed that there were no other suspicious individuals. Director Chun picked up his walkie-talkie. All units assist the school in organizing the orderly return of students. Stay alert at all times. After receiving the order, the teachers began lining up the students. The military and police formed a protective circle around them, guiding the group to the exit. Right then, my eyes locked onto a middle-aged woman in the crowd. She was the lunch lady from the school cafeteria. She never shook while serving food. So many students preferred her line. At this moment, she was smiling and chatting with the students. She looked quite friendly, but only I knew. She also had C4 explosives on her. The remote was in her right pocket. With a single press from her pocketed hand, she could wipe out everyone within a 15-meter radius and injure anyone within 50 meters. A chill instantly shot through me. This normally kind lady turned out to be the most deeply hidden criminal. Right then, she was standing where several lines of students converged. There was no time to report it. She could set off the bomb at any moment. I knew she was waiting for the moment that would maximize casualties. And this was my only chance. With that in mind, I showed no sign of emotion and sped up my pace, stopping just a few steps away from the lunch lady. Auntie Wang looked startled. But as soon as she recognized me, she smiled with surprise. "Lin, were you scared? I'll give you extra meat when you get back." I walked up to her, putting on an innocent smile. "Sure thing," just as I finished. I shifted my body to the side and quickly reached for her right hand with my left, dislocating her wrist joint in an instant. She let out a brief cry of pain and could no longer move her right hand. At the same time, I locked her throat with my right arm and slammed her hard to the ground. She fell like a sack of potatoes, her eyes rolling back, completely losing consciousness. Everything happened so fast that all the students and teachers nearby were stunned. The scene fell deadly silent. A classmate cried out, "Lin Yuan, what are you doing?" Director Chun reacted the fastest, ordering everyone to secure the scene immediately and restrain the suspect. Then he rushed over with SWAT officers. 2 officers quickly handcuffed the unconscious woman. A female officer lifted her jacket, revealing C4 explosives strapped to her waist. Everyone gasped in shock. In that moment, everyone realized this seemingly friendly aunt had almost slipped through the net. The students who had just chatted with her turned pale, looking at me with gratitude. Director Chan approached, looking grave. "How did you discover her?" I glanced at the woman, still shaken.
He kept his right hand tucked inside his coat.
His behavior was way too suspicious. Chief Chun nodded, relieved at the close call. "We almost screwed up big time. Good thing you noticed in time." He immediately ordered another thorough search. Even students were included in the sweep. Luckily, no other bomb carriers were found. With that, this major campus attack incident finally came to an end. Commander Liu led the soldiers back to base. Chief Chun took all the criminals back to the station. As a key figure, I went along. Interviews and interrogations were conducted at the same time. Very quickly, the whole story was clarified. This group was an extreme anti-social gang. It was headed by the owner of a scrap factory. Their target was locked onto Zihai University. They joined suicide groups to brainwash students into self-harm. The original plan was a combo of explosions and student suicides to create a huge stir. But because the uncle who kidnapped me earlier accidentally detonated the bomb, it threw everything off course. So they set up an ambush at the scrap factory instead. Then they hid in the park, targeting evacuated students. Fortunately, all crises were resolved in time. Everyone involved was caught. They will face severe punishment by law. After finishing my statement, Chief Chun personally escorted me back to school. The principal and school leaders were waiting at the gate. After some brief greetings, I finally returned to my dorm. That night, lying in bed, I activated the system for a second round. Used up 2 lottery chances in a row. I got the skills Meridian Striking and Excavator Operation. I was speechless. Last time, the skill I got was used the very next day. So what does the system want me to do with these 2 this time? The next morning, I had just walked into the cafeteria when the system voice sounded again. Detected 2 new school rules. Awarded 2 more chances to draw. On the cafeteria bulletin board, there they were, the 2 new regulations. Students are forbidden to enter the broadcasting room alone. Falling in love with cafeteria ladies is strictly prohibited. I could understand the first one, but I was completely stunned at the second. What on earth does this have to do with me? Later, from classmates' chatter, I found out that the undercover cafeteria lady from yesterday was actually flirting with several male students at the same time. But who would have thought? She turned out to be an extremist. I couldn't help but look a bit weird after hearing this. This is even more outrageous than Sushian and Ning Kaiken. The livestream audience was already cracking up. Our popularity kept soaring. A legend choosing the cafeteria lady over seniors or juniors. Going for the food lady instead. You solve being single and get free meals. Genius idea. Next to the bulletin, there was another notice. It was about the punishment for Li Xiaoming being bullied. The homeroom teacher was stripped of their qualifications and detained. All students involved in the bullying were taken away for questioning. They're all adults now, so they have to take responsibility for their actions. The school also decided to conduct a thorough investigation of all bullying incidents to prevent similar tragedies. As for the uncle, because he caused a negative impact but also incidentally helped, his credit and faults canceled out and he was released. After breakfast, I went to Professor Lee's office. As soon as I stepped in, something came flying right at me. I quickly dodged to the side. It hit the photographer standing behind me right in the face. Professor Lee glared at me in annoyance. Didn't someone say I was going through menopause? And wanted to find me a female student. My face froze. Professor, I'm doing all this for the sex benefit. We have to get a junior student to carry on our legacy. Professor Lee was left speechless by my remark. She just waved her hand dismissively. You're something else. Here's a new assignment for you today. Go to the lab and get a sample of lake sedimentary rock. My expression changed dramatically. No way. Professor, can we switch to something else? I really can't stand the smell of that thing. Professor Lee shot me a glare. Don't just get obsessed with visual reconstruction. Scents are also the chemical fingerprints of ecosystems. Stop talking and get out. I walked out of the office. I could almost squeeze bitterness out of myself. The cameraman curiously leaned in. Bro, what task is giving you such a hard time? I gave him a blank look, not getting it. Reconstructing an ancient ecological site. To put it nicely, it's research. To be blunt, it means extracting the millennia-old stink from rocks. After saying that, I started sighing, while dragging my feet toward the paleontology lab. Opened the door. Immediately started the special fume hood and sealed heating unit. Then took out a gas mask and put it on. Finally, carefully took out a lake sediment sample. The cameraman was stunned right there. Bro, what kind of experiment are you doing? Don't freak me out. I tossed him a gas mask without hesitation. Put it on, you'll see soon enough. The cameraman didn't dare ask more. He quickly put it on properly. I started the equipment to heat the sample. The temperature gradually rose. When it hit the critical point, there was a faint puff inside the reactor. A cloud of yellow-green smoke rolled out right after. Even with strong ventilation, some of the smell still leaked. That stench was practically a chemical weapon, worse than hydrogen sulfide and rotten flesh. The penetration was intense. The cameraman dry heaved. Oh my God, what the hell is that smell? Even the gas mask can't block it. I sighed helplessly. Count yourself lucky. I didn't even have a gas mask before. That sour kick was really something else. The cameraman thought I was exaggerating at first, but now realized this stench was unbeatable. As the experiment went on, more stench was released. The whole lab was filled with thick yellow smoke. Soon, I heard retching sounds outside the door. A chorus of curses erupted in the hallway. That's the paleontology lab. That's Lin Yuan, the troublemaker again. It didn't take long before the lab door was banged on. The manager, Grandpa Zhang, called in from outside. Ning Yuan, are you making biochemical weapons in there? The whole building reeks like a chemical dump because of you. Hearing the voice, I opened the door. A cloud of smoke rushed right out. Almost knocked him down with the smell. Grandpa Zhang, this is legit research. He stomped his feet in anger. Research, my ass. You've got 5 minutes. Take your setup and leave immediately. You're not welcome in the lab. Looking at the chaos outside, and all those murderous glares, I had no choice but to carry the whole setup, and under the watchful eyes of everyone, leave the lab building with my tail between my legs. The livestream chat blew up in popularity. Netizens were losing it, saying they could literally smell it through the screen. It's nastier than boiling crap. This is pure biochemical weaponry. We were extra eye-catching in our gas masks. Students passing by caught a whiff and started running while covering their noses. The lab wouldn't let me continue, and nowhere else was suitable. So I had to head to the wasteland part of the field near an old air raid shelter. But I'd only just set up when the nearby workers couldn't take it anymore. They all stopped working and bailed. But as soon as they left and class started, passing students became the next victims. They cursed and complained. While frantically running away, I kept my eyes on the nearly finished experiment and let out a heavy sigh of relief. Finally, it's almost over. But before I could relax, the principal showed up bringing Professor Lee and staff, all rushing to the field. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he suddenly covered it, dry heaving. Obviously, the smell got him. Professor Lee was also holding his face with a weird look. The principal forced himself not to vomit and furiously pointed at me, Lin Yuan. Hurry up and stop whatever you're doing. I stared at him, baffled. What's wrong? Principal. This was assigned to me by Professor Lee. As soon as I finished, Professor Lee immediately backed away. The dean held his nose. Do you realize? A bunch of students are hallucinating from this gas? Stop now. Hearing that, I was even more confused. Is it really that bad? Isn't it just a bit stinky? Right then, the security chief suddenly started laughing weirdly, then hugged a crooked tree nearby, rubbing his face up and down the bark. Zhao Heng, please don't leave me. I'll never be mean to you again. I was completely dumbfounded. Is he in heat or something? Suddenly, the principal also started acting strange, posing like a little girl for everyone. Am I cute? My heart skipped a beat. They really got affected. Professor Lee noticed something was wrong and quickly backed off dozens of meters. Lin Yuan, what are you actually doing over there? Saying this, he whipped out his phone to call the school doctor. I looked at him innocently. I didn't do anything, just running the usual experiment, like before. Professor Lee pressed for answers. Then why did the principal get poisoned? I frowned. You must have got it wrong. If my stuff was toxic, the people in the lab would have been affected first. If you don't believe me, just call and ask. Hearing that, Professor Lee immediately dialed Grandpa Zhang's number. On the phone, Grandpa Zhang was cursing, but had no sign of poisoning. The lab staff were all fine too, see? There's no way this was my fault. The school doctor then hurried over, gave the principal and security chief something strong to smell, and they came around shortly after. Professor Lee immediately explained what we'd found to the principal in detail. The principal frowned. So, the poisoning has nothing to do with Lin Yuan. But I just got affected after smelling that. My gaze swept over the wild grass nearby, the dirt mound and scattered construction materials. It all looked pretty normal. Suddenly, my eyes locked onto where the principal had just stood. There was a manhole cover. Just then, my system panel popped up, detected high concentration hydrogen sulfide gas. Locating the source, municipal sewer access 6.8 meters ahead. Blocked, with hydrogen sulfide leaking through the cracks extremely dangerous. Mild poisoning can cause vivid hallucinations. Severe cases can lead to shock-like coma or instant death. The area above the current leak now poses a moderate poisoning risk. I understood instantly. Turns out, it wasn't my experiment that was toxic. They just happened to gather near the manhole cover and got hallucinations from sewer gas. Luckily, the cameraman and I had gas masks on, so we weren't affected. Hydrogen sulfide is deadly. The concentration under that manhole could kill you with just a whiff. Just thinking about it freaks me out. At that thought, I quickly waved at Professor Lee and the others. Stay away from that manhole cover. I suspect your poisoning had to do with it. As soon as I said that, everyone was stunned. I waved my hand at them again. I directed them to step aside. It definitely wasn't my experiment that caused the poisoning. Professor Lee can vouch for me. Upon hearing this, Professor Lee nodded immediately. He was indeed doing experiments all along. I shrugged as if to say, you heard it. It has nothing to do with me. You can still smell my scent right now. And you're not having any hallucinations, are you? The one thing all the poisoned people have in common is they all walk down this path, not because they smelled my scent. If you want to know the cause, just have someone from the chemistry department run a test. You'll find out. The principal looked at the dean. He immediately told Professor Wang from the chemistry department to bring over the testing equipment. Upon hearing this, the dean quickly made a phone call. Soon, Professor Wang came over with two students, carrying their equipment as they rushed over. They put on gas masks and started testing the air around my experimental setup from a distance. Professor Wang stared at the data, mainly organic sulfides and a small amount of ammonia. Very low toxicity. Then, following my instructions, he went to the path. The device sounded an alarm as soon as it approached. Right away, it started beeping. When the probe got close to the gap in the manhole cover, the reading shot up instantly. The alarm got much more urgent. Professor Wang's face turned pale. His voice changed. "Oh my God, it's hydrogen sulfide. Step back. Inhaling this concentration could be fatal. It also causes severe hallucinations and unconsciousness." Upon hearing this, everyone rushed to retreat again. Professor Lee waved at me as he stepped back. "What are you standing still for?" I helplessly pointed at the experimental setup. "But my experiment is almost finished." Professor Lee anxiously stomped his foot. "This is not the time. Is your life or your experiment more important? Hurry up and come over." Helplessly, I had to stop the experiment and walk over. The cameraman next to us approached nervously. "That was way too dangerous. If we hadn't worn gas masks, we might have dropped dead already." The principal made a decisive call, ordered the Environmental Protection Bureau and Emergency Management Bureau to be notified. "Evacuate everyone from the area immediately. No students are allowed near here." After saying that, he turned to Professor Wang again. "What on earth is going on?" After thinking for a moment, Professor Wang replied, "Hydrogen sulfide is colorless, but has the smell of rotten eggs. It's normally easy to notice, but today Lin Yuan's experiment was so strong, it covered it up." The principal nodded. "I see." Seeing that, I scrunched my neck and quickly hid behind Professor Lee. A dozen minutes later, the Environmental Monitoring Center and Fire Department vehicles arrived. The staff quickly set up the cordon. They evacuated the students who were watching. The testers stuck the sampling tube into the gap of the manhole cover. The instrument's screen readings started jumping wildly. The tester's voice came through the mask. "It is confirmed to be hydrogen sulfide. Peak levels above 1000 ppm. Just a few breaths at this concentration will knock someone out instantly, cause respiratory paralysis." The only sound left was the detector's alarm. At this moment, the monitoring staff added, "That's not all." They also detected methane at more than half the lower limit. Already at the lower explosive limit. This is a mixed, toxic gas environment that's flammable and explosive. All non-explosion-proof devices must stay away from the manhole cover. Number. Open flames. Once he said that, everyone involuntarily glanced at me. The principal hung his head, looking utterly hopeless. Professor Lee immediately looked at the testing staff. "How did the gas leak out from here?" Before he could answer, I stepped forward. "It's actually pretty simple. The sewer is interconnected everywhere. Normally, the toxic gas would disperse, but this section just happened to be blocked for civil defense construction. The gas couldn't escape, so it came out right here." As soon as I finished, the tester stared at the device and shouted, "In the hydrogen sulfide background values, there's an abnormally high concentration of characteristic pollutants." Professor Wang gasped. "As far as I know, the electronics factory next door uses copper sulfate. Their wastewater contains a large amount of copper ions. This stuff is a highly efficient catalyst that turns organics into hydrogen sulfide. The expert just mentioned there are copper ions in the sewers. The only place I can think of is their factory. Could this be related to them?" The principal's expression changed drastically. "The electronics factory and our university are only separated by a 10-lane road. For a factory this big, they must take wastewater treatment seriously. They shouldn't be dumping waste into the municipal sewer. Could something have gone wrong?" He then turned to the leader of the Environmental Protection Bureau. "Please check the sewer line from the university toward the electronics factory. Gas concentration." Upon hearing this, the testing personnel immediately got to work. Sure enough, the closer they got to the factory, the higher the hydrogen sulfide and copper ion concentrations in the sewage, the higher they got. Fortunately, no one passed by the two manholes along the way. Otherwise, it would be far more serious than just displacement. The bureau leader looked grim. They decided on the spot to investigate the factory. The principal also made a quick decision. leaving the dean to handle the aftermath, and took me and others across the street. When we reached the electronics factory gate, the security guards saw our large group and quickly moved to stop us. The principal was the first to step forward. I am the president of Zihai University, and these are experts from the Environmental Protection Bureau. There's an emergency. We need to see your manager. The guard immediately went in to report. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man in a suit rushed out. Hello, President. I'm Liu Ming, Vice President of the factory. What's happened? The bureau leader quickly explained the situation. Vice President Liu's face turned instantly pale. That's impossible. We do use copper sulfate in the stone carving workshop, and our process does produce that kind of wastewater. But we have proper treatment procedures. Let me take you to see for yourselves. He immediately led us into the factory. After passing through several workshops, we arrived at the stone carving room. The moment we entered, there was a sharp, pungent smell, a mix of copper sulfate and hydrochloric acid. The technicians immediately checked the main drainage outlets and pipe joints. There were no obvious signs of leakage. Just as everyone was puzzled, I used my fingertip to touch an inconspicuous scar on the floor. And when I looked, my finger was stained with bluish-green residue. I stood up and asked Vice President Liu, was your wastewater treatment plant built at the same time as the stone carving workshop, or was it an expansion later? Vice President Liu hesitated for a moment. The wastewater treatment plant was added later, 2 or 3 years after the workshop. Why? I immediately frowned. So the original sewer layout might be different from what it is now. Sweat broke out on Liu's forehead. We did modify the pipes during expansion. I pointed to the path with bluish-green marks on the floor. It winds toward an old floor drain in the corner. If the original pipeline renovation wasn't thorough, could it be possible that there are still a few old sewage outlets connected directly to the city's pipes? Especially when production surges and wastewater increases, some of the wastewater might be forced back or leaking from these abandoned outlets due to pipe pressure. The bureau leader's face changed quick. Go check the intake volume at the treatment plant and the actual amount being processed. Are they matching up? Immediately after, the group rushed to the treatment station. The station chief pulled up today's operation data, pointed at the screen, and said today's intake was nearly 40% higher than usual. The treatment system has been running at full capacity. As soon as they finished, the technician at the console suddenly called out, "Wait, the neutralizing tank's pH reading is off. Large amounts of acidic copper-laden waste haven't been neutralized properly, and it's building up inside the pipes." The truth finally came out. Vice President Liu looked drained. Why didn't we detect this sooner? Shut everything down now. The station chief immediately shut down all machinery on the spot. The stone carving area was also shut down. The sharp smell subsided almost instantly. Vice President Liu collapsed weakly to the ground. The bureau leader's face was ashen. Seal off the whole factory immediately. Get the emergency team on site. Inspect and seal all pipelines thoroughly. Just then I suddenly spoke up. Vice President Liu, are all your drain pipes connected throughout the entire factory? Vice President Liu nodded blankly. Yeah, they are. Why? I turned serious. That means there's a toxic nest underground now, and there's a lot of raw methane building up as well. As soon as I said that, Vice President Liu froze on the spot. The principal and Professor Li were also stunned. Yeah, how did we forget about that? Earlier, there were kids who threw firecrackers into a methane-filled manhole and blew up Mahewan Road. All the cars nearby got wrecked, and that was just one manhole. Now it's the whole factory's worth. If someone carelessly tosses a cigarette in there, the consequences are unthinkable. Everyone's face changed at that thought. The principal immediately called the dean. Get an excavator over now and seal up the sewer manhole leading to the university. Vice President Liu's eyes went blank.
He was completely out of it.
The livestream chat numbers shot up rapidly. The comment feed exploded too. Someone suggested nicknaming the cemetery Zero Blast, meaning everywhere he goes, things blow up. Someone suggested sending him to study in Japan. Now I understand why firefighters have such a high death rate. The real danger isn't just fire. It's toxic gas explosions. Good thing this was discovered early. Otherwise, Zihai University would have made the news again tomorrow. Luckily, this happened next door. It took a while for the shock to pass. Vice President Liu finally came back to his senses. His hand shaking, he reported everything to the chairman. After a while, angry yelling came from the other end of the call. Are you trying to get me killed? Evacuate all workers immediately. And call the police right now. I'm coming over right away. Vice President Liu hung up and instantly passed the orders on. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the factory. The intercom kept repeating the evacuation instructions. Workers hurried in a panic toward the exits. But right then, urgent cries for help came from the dormitory area. Help! People have fainted in the dorm building. Vice President Liu's face turned ashen. He ran off toward the dorms. I saw the principal and the others glance at each other, and we quickly followed. As soon as we reached the base of the building, a strong rotten egg smell filled our noses. Everyone instinctively took a few steps back. Several workers in overalls were anxiously pounding on the dormitory doors. My roommate is still inside. She's not picking up her phone. My husband was on night shift yesterday. He's definitely sleeping in the room now. Knocking and calling, but no response. Soon the head of security arrived with tools to break down the doors. They smashed a door open forcefully and saw a worker collapsed on the floor. Their face was turning blue and purple, already unconscious. Seeing this, the rescue teams immediately split up to break in and help people. The principal and others were completely shocked. Why did so many people get poisoned and fall unconscious? I frowned. The sewage pipes in the staff dormitory should have been directly connected to the drainage system. The factory already had a high concentration of toxic gas. If it can't be vented out, it would flow back up through the pipes. Look, all the poisoned residents live on the 3rd floor or below, and all their windows and doors were shut. That's when everyone suddenly understood. As more and more doors were opened, the number of poison victims kept rising. In the hallway, over a dozen unconscious workers lay scattered everywhere. Fortunately, at that moment, fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars, along with vehicles for chemical experts, arrived one after another. Medical staff quickly carried the unconscious workers away for emergency treatment. Firefighters immediately set up a safety perimeter. Hazmat and engineering teams also took their positions quickly. Over an hour later, the toxic gas in the sewage system was fully under control. After inspections by the Environmental Protection Bureau, the methane concentration was no longer high enough to explode. Hydrogen sulfide was also effectively managed. Everyone could finally breathe a big sigh of relief. During this time, the chairman hurried over. He greeted the principal with a few polite words first. Once he learned that I found the problem, he immediately came over to me with a big smile. Young man, today, I really appreciate what you did. I smiled. Chairman, you're too kind. He patted me on the shoulder. Just because you called me chairman, I'll make you a promise. When you graduate, come work for me, and I'll set you up with a good position. How about being a manager? Before I could refuse, the principal looked at him and laughed. About that manager position? He probably isn't interested. Director Chun from the city personally asked him to join the police, and he still turned it down. A high-ranking military official invited him to join the military, and he refused that too. Unless you give him your chairman position. Otherwise, I'll just refuse for him. The chairman looked over at the principal. I heard the principal is raising funds to rebuild the school playground recently. On behalf of the factory, I'll donate 10 million yuan. Also, I'll personally give Lin Yuan 1 million yuan to thank him.
Hearing this,
The principal and I couldn't hold back our smiles. We both stepped forward at the same time, shaking his hands on both sides and thanking the chairman. Not to mention anyone else. Even the principal was stunned. After some more polite exchanges, the Environmental Protection Bureau's monitoring vehicle transmitted the final inspection report. In the factory area and surrounding sewers, the hydrogen sulfide level had dropped below 10 ppm. Methane concentration was below the explosion threshold. All parameters met safety standards. Fire command vehicles and rescue units began to withdraw one after another. Everything seemed to return to normal. But just as the Environmental Protection Bureau finished up their work and was preparing to leave, the expert in charge of sewer gas detection suddenly narrowed his pupils. The team leader's instrument showed hydrogen sulfide and methane levels were rapidly increasing. It was confirmed not to be residual gas dispersal. Based on a comparison of each site's data, the main direction of gas flow was over there. He said this while pointing toward the main sewer outside of the factory, stretching off into the distance. Everyone's eyes followed his gesture. The chairman was shocked. It's not our factory's problem. The Environmental Protection Bureau team leader immediately gave an order. Track it down at once. Deploy the pipe endoscope and remote gas sampling equipment. Quickly have technicians lay the lines along the way, following the main sewer pipe filled with a foul stench. Track it in reverse. The principal and I, as the initial discoverers of the incident, were allowed to follow along at a safe distance. The endoscope footage was utterly shocking. Thick, greasy sludge coated the pipe walls, with all sorts of trash fragments everywhere. At that moment, the expert operating up front suddenly exclaimed softly, "Looks like the pipe ahead is blocked." On the control terminal screen was a massive gray-white congealed mass, nearly blocking the whole thing. The pipe itself seemed to have a creepy, almost lifelike, wriggling motion.
Taking a closer look.
It became clear that it was producing gases inside. Gas bubbles kept rising and popping on the sticky surface. What was even more unsettling, the surface temperature of this giant clump was over 30 degrees Celsius. At the same time, a system prompt appeared before my eyes, warning that the giant fatberg was in an active fermentation phase and extremely dangerous. Its internal structure was unstable. Intense physical disturbance or open flames outside could trigger a massive methane explosion, or the instant release of toxic gases. Suggestion: burn it. I couldn't help but gasp sharply. A giant fatberg. The Environmental Protection Bureau leader was surprised and glanced at me. "You actually recognize this?" I nodded, saying I'd seen it in videos. These kinds of fatbergs are formed from cooking grease discharged by restaurants, combined with other improperly discarded solid waste, creating enormous congealed masses. Domestic sewage in the pipes, under anaerobic conditions, gets broken down by certain sulfate-reducing bacteria using organic matter, generating large amounts of hydrogen sulfide. The acidic wastewater containing copper ions, occasionally discharged by the factory, happened to be the perfect catalyst for the reaction. That greatly accelerated the production of hydrogen sulfide. But then, when the factory shut down, the copper ion catalyst was cut off. Plus, the fire department kept extracting poisonous gases, and the toxic gas wasn't produced fast enough. So things slowed down for a while. However, a large amount of copper sulfate wastewater had already reacted with it. Even if you stop the discharge, it can't stop releasing toxic gas and methane. Previously, it was probably fermenting slowly. And because of the contact with so much copper sulfate, the wastewater completely triggered it. After my explanation, everyone looked completely stunned. The chairman nearly collapsed, almost fainting on the spot. "So what do we do now? Does it mean as long as it's here, the factory can't reopen?" The team leader nodded. "I've seen plenty of blockages, but never one this size and so active. As for a concrete solution, I'll need to consult with the fire department." With that, he made a phone call. Soon after, the fire crew, who had just returned to base, rushed back over to fully assess the giant fatberg. Firefighters suited up in protective gear, and despite the risks, went directly into the sewer to investigate. When everyone saw the thing clearly on HD footage, their faces all turned deathly pale. The chairman even threw up on the spot. In the temporary command post, the environmental protection leader and fire department experts gathered around the sewer network map, arguing heatedly. One expert pointed at the diagram. "I suggest using large refrigeration units, injecting liquid nitrogen into the pipes to lower the temperature." Another immediately waved him off. "No way. A sudden temperature change would make the fatberg's crust brittle and shatter, instantly releasing all the gas. That would trigger an immediate explosion." The fire chief tapped the map with his finger. "Then let's use a high-pressure water cannon to remotely cut it apart, along with high-powered suction equipment." The environmental protection team leader wiped sweat from his forehead. "That's even more dangerous. The impact from the water jet might trigger an immediate explosion. And once the thing is broken up, that massive pollution source could block all downstream pipes, and toxins and flammable gas would flood the entire sewer system. The consequences would be unimaginable." Each proposal was put forward, and then rejected one by one, as everyone was at a loss. I cleared my throat. If you ask me, we should just burn it. The moment those words left my mouth, the room went dead silent. Everyone stared straight at me. The fire chief's eyes widened. Burn it. Are you kidding? Do you realize how much methane is in there? A single spark could blow the whole street sky high. The team leader and other experts frowned deeply, but I just smiled calmly. It's exactly because I understand the risk that I'm suggesting we burn it. The Fatberg is essentially an out-of-control chemical reactor. The danger is that methane keeps building up, with no way to vent safely. All our conservative proposals are just trying to soothe a ticking time bomb. The process is long, with all kinds of possible variables. If anything goes wrong at any step, it could blow up ahead of time. So in that case, why don't we take a different approach? In an absolutely controlled environment, let's take the initiative and light it up. Turn this ever-present danger of an explosion into a single, manageable, controlled energy release. I picked up a pen and quickly sketched a diagram on the blueprints. We can create a pressure relief opening downstream at a safe distance and install high-temperature resistant guide pipes and special burner nozzles. Inject a precisely measured dose of pure oxygen onto the Fatberg. Mix it with the methane it's producing to create the ideal fuel-air mix for combustion. Then, through a high-heat resistant ceramic duct, insert a special spark plug right into the planned combustion chamber position. When we ignite it, the flame and high-temperature gas will be mainly channeled through our guide pipes, venting safely from the relief outlet. That will create a stable, controlled giant torch. This process will steadily consume the Fatberg's own substance and energy, putting down the pen. So, in short, we're not trying to blow it up. We want it to burn itself away steadily. Inside a combustion chamber of our design, the fire chief stared hard at the plans, quickly running through every step in his mind. At this moment, the team leader stepped forward. In theory, it's feasible. The key is to control the concentration of the mixed gases. Make sure the venting channel is absolutely clear. If this works, not only would it resolve the crisis, it could also turn the pollution completely into harmless carbon dioxide and water. The fire chief suddenly slapped the table. Let's do it. As he spoke, he looked at me. Kid, I underestimated you. You're really something. Professor Lee pulled me aside. How come you even know about this? I chuckled. As long as it's explosion related, I know a bit about it. Professor Lee nodded. I see. Next time I study volcanic sedimentary rocks, you should come with me. Hearing that, I was dumbfounded. Isn't this decision a bit rushed? As soon as the plan was finalized, the fire chief immediately gave the order to have each team prepare according to my plan. One order after another was given. The entire rescue team jumped back into high gear. Time flew by second after second. After all the preparations were done, the chief immediately picked up the dedicated radio channel. Attention, all teams. We're now entering execution phase. From a distance, the operator pressed the red button hard. I felt the ground beneath my feet tremble slightly. A burst of orange-red flames erupted at the downstream vent. On the monitoring screen of the Environmental Protection Bureau, the red line representing the hydrogen sulfide concentration plummeted, while the green line for carbon dioxide and water steadily rose. Seeing this scene, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The controlled combustion worked. The fire chief let out a heavy breath. He turned to me and solemnly extended his hand. Lin Yuan, on behalf of all the rescue personnel, thank you. Your contribution today is irreplaceable. I shook his hand tightly. That's too kind. So, is there a reward? Hearing this, the chief immediately responded. There must be. I'll have someone go to your school to present the award, plus a 3,000 yuan scholarship bonus. I scratched my head. Forget the award. Can I just get the cash? The principal standing nearby's face twitched. Lin Yuan, this is an honor given by the fire department. You can't measure it with money. How about you accept the honor? I'll personally reward you with 5,000 yuan. Hearing that, I happily agreed. No problem. At this moment, the environmental team leader frowned. Such a massive Fatberg. The source can't be that simple. Immediately organize a team to center on the incident site and conduct a surprise inspection of all surrounding factories' wastewater discharges. Once the order was given, The combined inspection team took action right away. Half an hour later, someone came to report. Inside an abandoned factory a few hundred meters away, fresh tire tracks and pieces of plastic barrels were found. Lights could still be seen inside the factory at night, and there was the hum of machines deep inside. The inspection team immediately sealed off all exits, then led the team into the factory. After walking in over 100 meters, they saw a small workshop hidden inside. They pushed open the workshop door and saw several crude production lines in operation. A large amount of thick liquid was churning in a heated pool at the site. Bubbling up, several workers were dumping kitchen waste into the pool. And other waste. After simple heating and separation, the clear oil on top was pumped away and barreled, leaving behind dark sludge and wastewater, which was sent through a hidden hose in the corner into the sewer entrance dug into the workshop floor. It turned out to be an illegal operation processing gutter oil. Law enforcement officers rushed in and quickly apprehended everyone. After preliminary interrogation, this illegal workshop would buy up waste oil from restaurants and cafeterias at night at low prices, even scooping out waste oil from the sewers. Toxic waste residues and wastewater from processing were directly discharged into the municipal sewage system. Over days and months, these waste materials, rich in oil and organic matter, eventually formed that massive fatberg under suitable conditions.
And so,
This incident, caused by toxic gas leaking from the school's sewer system, finally came to an end. The Environmental Protection Bureau and the police said goodbye to me, and then left. The principal and I went back to school as well. Just as I was about to leave, Professor Lee suddenly called out to me. "Lin Yuan, tomorrow is Saturday. If you're free, go do an independent internship." He said this while taking out his phone and opened his contacts. "It's your senior, Joe Kai. He's graduated for over 2 years now, and he's doing pretty well. He works at a research lab called Ronghua Fugui. I've already let him know. Write down his number. Just find him directly tomorrow." I was dumbfounded. This was the first time I'd ever heard of a lab with that kind of name. "Is it legit?" Professor Lee waved his hand. "Don't worry about what it's called. Just go over there. For my Saki, he'll take care of you." Seeing how insistent he was, I had no choice but to agree. And it just so happened that I didn't have any other plans for tomorrow. After writing down the number, I took the cameraman back to the dorm. That night, lying on my bed, I used up my 2 lottery spins back to back without hesitating. I got the skills of a forensic expert in ventriloquism. The next morning, sure enough, we saw a new school rule posted in the cafeteria. Students are forbidden from conducting experiments outdoors. The system rewarded me with another lottery spin. After breakfast, I immediately called Senior Joe Kai. He sounded very enthusiastic. He readily agreed on a place to meet. Soon after, I met him at a coffee shop. As soon as he saw me, he warmly stood up and waved. "Lin Yuan, I've heard a lot about you. Professor Lee said you'd be coming. I barely slept a wink last night. Don't worry, your seniors got your back from now on." As Joe Kai spoke, he invited me and the cameraman to sit down. He then called the waiter over and ordered 3 coffees. "Don't be shy, it's on me. By the way, who's this handsome guy?" I smiled a little. "He's my friend. He's with me." Joe Kai patted me on the shoulder with a smile. "Knowing your friends means they're my friends too." After chatting for a while, I looked at him intently. "Senior, Professor Lee said you work at the Ronghua Fugui Research Institute. I'm pretty interested in experiments. Would it be convenient to show me around for a bit?" Just hearing the words Research Institute, there was a very subtle stiff look on Joe Kai's face. He quickly gave a hearty laugh. "It's no problem at all. At Ronghua Fugui, we love welcoming promising young people like you the most. Let me take you there now. Guaranteed to open your eyes." With that, he called for a taxi. The car wound its way through the city and drove into an old residential complex. Joe Kai got out of the car first, proudly pointing at the hallway. "We're here." But as soon as I got out of the car, I was stunned. This address is nothing like what I expected for a research facility. Not even close. Has paleontology really fallen on such hard times? Is it really this rough for paleontology? Joe Kai walked toward the corridor with a grin. "Come on, it's right on the first floor. I'll go knock." Saying this, He walked up to a rusty security door and knocked in a rhythmic pattern, like a secret code. A few seconds later, the door clicked open a crack. A buzz-cut guy poked his head out and saw Joe Kai, and instantly put on an exaggerated smile. Joe Kai, bringing new friends again, huh?
He said this as he stepped aside.
With a strong sense of something being off, I stepped inside. But as soon as I walked in, I saw dozens of red plastic stools set up in the room. A red banner was strung across the front wall, with big yellow letters printed on it. A warm welcome to the newest members joining the Ronghua Fu Gui family. And then, about a dozen young people around Joe Kai's age were standing to the side. As soon as they saw me, they all lined up in 2 rows. A man then walked out from inside. Everybody applause. Welcome our newest member to the Ronghua Fu Gui family. Right after that, a neat and resonant voice rang out. Welcome, welcome. A very warm welcome. I looked over at Joe Kai. He was still smiling broadly. What do you think, Lin Yuan? Pretty nice vibe, right? I forced a smile and nodded. Not bad, thank you, everyone. The guy in the suit cheerfully motioned for everyone to take a seat. Today we have a new friend joining us. So let me share with everyone how to quickly earn your first financial target. Then he wrote out level 5 ternary system on the whiteboard. He talked on and on. Everyone's eyes were shining with excitement. Joe Kai was no exception. I was the only one totally baffled. Damn, this is obviously a pyramid scheme, isn't it? Li Bapi, you bastard. Sending me here for independent internship. Turns out it's for a scam. Viewers in the live stream were stunned too. The number of people watching shot up. Junior high dropouts in cheap suits. Dress shoes, stockings, rolling carry-ons. Everyone holding a divorce certificate. Bragging and drinking soup after. After listening to these boring brainwashing sales pitches for a while, I was close to dozing off. Letting this drag on would be way too boring. To get out as soon as possible. I raised my hand. Excuse me, my stomach's a bit upset. I need to use the restroom. The guy in the suit smiled and nodded, but then shot a look at the guy next to him, telling him to follow me. I went into the bathroom, whistling while I did my business. Afterwards, I pressed the flush button out of habit. The water sounded weak and feeble. After several tries, the water level hadn't gone down. Instead, a few weird big bubbles popped up. An overwhelming stench came up. So strong I had to squint. It was suffocating. I almost coughed. Frowning, I pressed the button a few more times. This time the toilet made a buzzing sound, but nothing else. The tank was completely out of water. Even the water in the bowl was gone. The stench from before got even stronger. I covered my nose and mouth and headed out. But as soon as I opened the door, I saw the guy who'd followed me. A cigarette dangling from his mouth but unlit. He saw me come out and walked straight in himself, closing the door behind him. I immediately heard the crisp sound of a lighter. The next second, a heavy, deep and powerful explosion erupted from the bathroom. The bathroom door in front of me instantly bulged and warped outward. Cracks split open in the middle of the door panel. A wave of scorching air mixed with an indescribable stench instantly blasted out from the cracks and keyhole. Everyone in the living room, lost in their dreams of getting rich, jumped up at the sudden explosion in fright. Suddenly, the room was filled with screams and stools crashing over. Everyone stared in terror toward the bathroom. I was the closest. The blast of heat and stench forced me to step back half a pace. And at that moment, the door was suddenly slammed open from the inside. The guy who'd just gone in to light a smoke came staggering out. The clothes were ripped open. Her face and hair were covered in thick brownish-yellow sludge. Filth was still dripping down. The cigarette in her mouth was long gone. Only a vacant look remained on her face. She opened her mouth to speak, but could only make hoarse huffing sounds. Her eyes were wide and round. I hurriedly stepped back in disgust. Following the wooden door, I looked towards the bathroom. Suddenly, a wave of nausea hit me. The bathroom was a complete mess. The toilet was completely gone. All that remained were broken pipes and ceramic shards all over the floor. On the walls and ceiling, there were huge, indescribable stains slowly sliding down.
The whole room
Was filled with a strong stench of methane and burnt odor. The man in the suit was the first to react. Xiaoming, what happened? Are you okay? He tried to help Xiaoming up, but recoiled at the sight of the filth on him. He turned to look at me. What were you doing in there just now? I spread my hands. I wasn't doing anything. Everyone gathered around to watch the commotion. They looked at the once familiar bathroom, now turned into this disgusting mess. Each person was dumbfounded. Viewers in the live stream were all bursting with laughter. The popularity skyrocketed. The first explosion today happened to be in the bathroom. The moderators aren't blurring it out. Do they want everyone to lose their appetite? Most people are afraid of getting scammed in pyramid schemes. Lingyan's fear is that the entire pyramid scheme gang will get wrecked. It all happened right in this chaos. When I looked toward the toilet, a system panel warning suddenly popped up in front of me. High-risk energy reaction detected. The toilet pipe is directly connected to the main chamber of the underground septic tank. The U-shaped water seal was destroyed after multiple ineffective flushes. High concentrations of methane from the septic tank are backflowing into the small space. An open flame caused a localized explosion. It destroyed the top structure and ventilation pipes of the septic tank. Indoor pressure and temperature are rapidly destabilizing. Methane concentration continues to soar. Host detonation expected in 30 seconds. It is recommended to evacuate to a safe zone at least 200 meters away immediately. My pupils contracted sharply. There was no time to explain. I suddenly turned to the stunned cameraman and shouted at everyone to run. The septic tank is about to explode. Run as far away as possible. After yelling, I grabbed the cameraman's arm. I shoved aside two stunned people next to me. I sprinted for the main door as fast as I could. The cameraman was yanked forward, stumbling. He instinctively followed me. The whole scene was in utter confusion. The farther I ran, the stronger the stench coming from the bathroom became. The man in the suit finally realized something was wrong. He was the first to run out. The young guy who got stunned during the explosion was still in shock. He was still covered in sticky filth. So what am I supposed to do? The suit man's face twitched. Just run first. With that, he led everyone out the door. But as the last person rolled out of the house, a deep muffled roar came from underground. A concrete manhole cover by the road was instantly thrown dozens of meters into the air. The concrete panels of the septic tank were all blown apart. Massive amounts of sticky sewage were blasted sky high, spraying indiscriminately everywhere. It was like a giant filth flower blooming in the sky. Torrential sewage rained down, covering everything. Over a dozen electric scooters were toppled by columns of sewage. All the sheets and comforters hanging on the racks were stained poop yellow. A security guard who stuck his head out was splattered in the face with sludge. He immediately pulled his head back in. Several nearby buildings were splattered all over. The suited men and others had just run 10 meters when they were stunned by the scene. They were drenched by the rain of filth. The two of us ran to a crooked tree not far away. The cameraman stared wide-eyed, swearing, "Bro, what the hell did you do?" My face twitched. Would you believe me if I said it wasn't my fault? The cameraman shook his head, not buying it. I was instantly speechless. You gotta be kidding me. Meanwhile, the livestream had completely blown up. The chat was exploding with warnings of incoming disaster. Non-combatants, please wear gas masks. This is like Resident Evil. This is the wildest episode of Camo Xiangzi ever. Just then, a black sedan and several police cars arrived at the entrance of the neighborhood at the same time. The principal and Professor Lee got out of the car looking anxious. The next second, a sticky chunk of filth plopped right onto the principal's forehead. The police officers about to get out of their cars quickly closed the doors. The principal trembled as he touched the sticky goo on his forehead. A desperate retching echoed through the neighborhood entrance.
He desperately tried to wipe off the filth from his head.
Professor Lee hurriedly handed over a bottle of mineral water. I covered my mouth tightly. I almost laughed out loud just now, but I forced myself to hold it in, almost hurting myself inside. It looks like nothing else will land on Xiangzi. The police officers carefully entered the community, but as soon as they rounded the building by the entrance, everyone gasped sharply. At this moment, the principal looked at the person from the pyramid scheme, who was covered in filth, then glanced at me under the tree. He was so frustrated he almost wanted to die. Professor Lee pointed at me with a trembling hand. "Lin Yuan, what exactly did you do?" He then closed his eyes. "Are you okay?" I scratched my head. I walked over, stepping around Xiangzi on the ground. "Professor Principal, this really has nothing to do with me. Professor Lee shot me a look. Why is it so hard for me to believe you? I gave a bitter smile. Their bathroom broke. Methane came up through the toilet. Then some guy went in, lit a cigarette, and it blew up. And then the septic tank. As I nonchalantly explained, everyone's faces twitched. The police looked at the scene, helpless. They could only call for help. The sanitation department supervisor arrived. His face turned pale at the sight. He almost collapsed. This probably calls for a major disaster emergency response, right? Captain Zhao rushed over with more police officers for backup. After nodding to me and everyone, they quickly secured the scene. Then they started registering and questioning the pyramid scheme group. They surrounded the police, crying and wailing for their parents, wishing they could leave this cursed place as soon as possible. Only now did Zhou Kai realize what was going on.
He had actually gotten involved in a pyramid scheme himself.
He immediately shrank into a corner, sulking. Professor Lee walked over. He stopped in front of Zhou Kai. Suddenly, Zhou Kai burst into tears.
He slapped himself in the face.
Professor, I'm sorry. I let you down. He then frantically looked at me. Lin, I really didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. I raised my hand to stop him. It's okay, I didn't lose anything anyway. Professor Lee stared at his miserable appearance. He pressed his brow with his hand. I don't even know what to say to you. I told you back then to stay at the university, but you didn't listen. Now look what happened. You went and got mixed up in a pyramid scheme. Don't make a mistake like this again in the future. Zhou Kai nodded desperately like a pecking chicken, saying he understood. Over there, the sanitation department brought in a large suction truck and a high-pressure washer. The staff pumped out the remaining waste from the septic tank. The high-pressure hose started washing every corner of the community. The principal, the others, and I were just about to leave, when suddenly I saw a sanitation worker waving his hand vigorously at the entrance. Captain, something's up here. Everyone immediately looked where he was pointing. They saw cracks appearing at the bottom of the septic tank. Next, there was a faint explosion sound. A second later, an opening about half a meter wide appeared. It was so deep you couldn't see the bottom. Captain Zhao furrowed his brow. He immediately signaled everyone to step back. In this eerie silence, a system prompt suddenly popped up in front of me. Detected high-intensity geological and historical energy fluctuations. There is a large karst cave below. System: the natural cave was artificially expanded. There are structured burial chambers. An underground river runs through the lower level of the tomb. Depth is approximately 18 to 22 meters. Due to the explosion above, the stability of the tomb structure has decreased. There is a risk of continuous collapse. I took a deep breath. There's actually a cave and an ancient tomb beneath us. The area was quickly cordoned off. Captain Zhao directed the sanitation workers to clean up around the opening. Seeing this, I immediately approached Captain Zhao. You should call the Cultural Relics Bureau right away. There should be a karst cave down here, with an ancient tomb hidden inside. When everyone heard this, they were shocked. They all crowded forward to look into the opening. Captain Zhao stepped to my side. How did you figure that out? I pointed to the cross-section of the rock inside the opening. Look closely, near the upper part of the opening. The layers of soil are clearly different in color, mixed with small gravel pieces. Looks purposely tamped down. And that thick grayish-white layer of soil below is blue clay. It's commonly used in ancient tombs. It seals things up very well. The upper layer should be rammed earth. Blue clay with a rammed earth layer most likely means an ancient tomb. And the tomb owner's status must be very high. Ordinary people couldn't afford this kind of tomb. Captain Zhao tapped his chin thoughtfully. True, but how can you be sure there's a cave? As soon as he finished speaking, Professor Lee stepped forward. He pointed to the rock face inside the opening. The next layer of rock is typical limestone. And you can even see the sparkle of calcite crystals. This type of rock is the basis for cave formation. Listen closely. You can also hear faint sounds of running water. I leaned toward the opening. It was probably the earlier explosion, plus the underground river's constant erosion, that caused the rammed earth layer to collapse, exposing the cave below. With that, Professor Lee patted me on the shoulder. Lin Yuan, you're doing great in your professional courses. But this archaeology material, when did you study that? My face stiffened for a moment. Then I scratched my head and said it was just a hobby. Hearing this, Captain Zhao immediately contacted the city's Bureau of Cultural Relics and Geological Survey team. He gave a full report about the situation and my deduction. Explained everything in detail. Over 20 minutes later, experts from the Cultural Relics Bureau arrived quickly. When they saw the situation before them, an old expert's eyes instantly lit up. Professor Wang, in the center, waved at the staff right away. Hurry and set up the equipment. Let's check what's down there. A second later, a staff member took out a fiber optic pole with lighting and a camera. He slowly extended it down through the opening. Everyone stared at the monitor connected to the probe. At first, the screen only showed falling dirt and stones. After about 10 meters down, the probe entered a huge underground space. The camera showed a deep, empty cavern. But a second later, everyone gasped audibly again. On the screen, a coffin was hanging in midair inside the cave. It was held up by 9 rusty iron chains. At the end of each chain was a carved stone dragon. Professor Wang clenched his fist tightly. This is the 9-dragon coffin. Everyone present was stunned. Each and every one of them stared with wide eyes. No one ever thought they'd stumble onto the legendary 9-dragon coffin. The cave was huge, but the camera's range was limited. After discussing, the relics and geological experts decided to go down and investigate personally. Professor Li wasn't an archaeologist, but he was very knowledgeable, so he was invited along. As the discoverer and his student, of course I went too. The cave was very deep. Everyone put on protective gear and was lowered down one by one using a crane. The geological experts went first. Professor Li and I followed closely behind. The cameraman didn't come along, so he fixed the camera to me. The deeper we went, the damp, chilly air felt even thicker. A few minutes later, I finally stepped onto solid ground. After steadying myself, I immediately raised my headlamp and shined it around. I saw that the underground river beside me was still flowing slowly. The water actually glowed with a faint, eerie blue light. Just then, a sudden cry came from the group. "Look over there!" Everyone immediately turned to where they were pointing. On the left rock wall, a huge pattern of skulls appeared prominently. There were at least 7 or 8. What was most unsettling was that no matter where you stood, some of those skulls seemed to be staring directly at you. Professor Wang forced himself to stay calm, moved up close to the wall, and lightly tapped it with his fingertip. It doesn't look carved, no chisel marks at all. It seems more like a natural pattern formed by minerals seeping along the cracks. This is just unbelievable. Everyone's headlamp beams were now focused on the skull-covered wall. Wherever the light swept across was clear as day. Pretty soon, a young team member swayed on his feet. Weird, I feel a little dizzy. Another person was rubbing their temples. Same here, after staring at those skulls. I keep feeling like they're moving. The moment he said that, several people nodded in agreement. I too suddenly felt a wave of dizziness and nausea. When I looked away, the dizziness eased up a bit. Then I quickly pulled Professor Li and the others beside me and told everyone not to keep staring at them. But the weirdness wasn't over yet. Just as everyone was feeling unsettled, a series of low, hollow whispers suddenly echoed through the cave. The sound seemed to come from all directions. The whole expedition party panicked instantly. Beams from all their headlamps frantically swept around the cave, but no one could locate the source of the sound. Suddenly, a shrill scream rang out. A team member pointed toward the underground river. "There's something over the water." Everyone turned to look. The light above the river's surface twisted eerily. A few shadowy figures appeared out of thin air. As they twisted and writhed, several clearer, ghostly shapes suddenly showed up. On the flat rock wall not far from us, that young team member screamed uncontrollably. "It's the ghost soldiers! They're crawling out from the river!" What we saw now went far beyond everyone's understanding. Thankfully, several of the senior professors spoke up to calm people down. The group barely managed to steady their nerves. But the next bizarre thing happened without warning. Droplets of blood began dripping from above. A faint metallic smell filled the air. Someone shouted, "The rock wall's bleeding." Instantly, chaos broke out among everyone. The young team member immediately ran for the lift. "Professor, drag out the 9 dragons coffin. This place is way too freaky. Let's get out of here." The sight fell into total chaos, but I raised my hand and caught a few drops of the bloody rain. I held them up for a closer look. And suddenly my pupils contracted sharply. At that moment, Professor Lee's voice called out from behind me. Lin Yuan, get back here now. It's really dangerous over there. I didn't turn around. I simply rubbed the red liquid stuck on the top. Professor, look. The liquid was red, but it didn't have the stickiness or sweet scent of blood. As I spoke, I raised my headlamp and shined it directly at the crack the liquid was seeping from. I'm guessing this rock contains iron compounds. Since we came in here, the temperature has gone up. The moisture inside the rock expanded from the heat, got squeezed out and began to seep through. The water dissolved some iron from the rock. As soon as it touched the air, it oxidized and turned into red rust. So, it's not actually bleeding rock. It's just a natural phenomenon. Upon hearing this, Professor Wang stepped forward. I agree with your explanation about the bloody rain. But how do you explain the other supernatural events? I smiled. I raised my hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. This isn't complicated either. Everyone, stay completely silent now. Stay where you are. Don't make any noise or move around. Relying on the trust earned by explaining the blood rain just now, everyone followed suit. After just a few seconds, the ancient whispers lingering in our ears gradually weakened. Eventually, they were almost inaudible. The ghostly shadows on the rock wall also stopped moving. Then I quickly walked over to the smooth jade green rock. There's a natural stalagmite here, with its tip just touching the rock wall. I gently tapped the stalagmite with my hand. A soft sound echoed out. The faint whispers instantly became clear for a moment. A smile immediately appeared at the corner of my mouth. Now everyone should understand, right? The ghostly voices we've been hearing are actually from a natural piezoelectric phonograph.
Inside this rock wall,
There are large amounts of microscopic piezoelectric crystals like quartz. Hundreds or even thousands of years ago. Maybe it was a huge earthquake, or a bolt of lightning striking the rock strata. The tremendous energy caused the vibrations of voices back then to be polarized and stored by the crystal's charges, engraving them into the rock structure. It's basically the same principle as an old tape recorder. As I spoke, I pointed at the stalagmite next to me. This stalagmite touching the rock wall is like a natural stylus. The sound waves from the noises we just made are transmitted through the air and ground to the stalagmite, and the stalagmite passes the vibrations to the rock wall. The record compresses the piezoelectric crystals inside, producing a faint electric current, and thus plays back the sound that was recorded all those years ago. Then I shrugged. It's just that because it's so old, the sound it plays is muffled and unclear, like a cassette tape running out of battery. That's why it seemed creepy at first. This explanation instantly turned what was a terrifying incident into a live science demonstration. Even Professor Lee looked at me in amazement. The experts from the Cultural Relics Bureau were now looking at me differently. Professor Wang rubbed his aching temples. But what about the ghosts on the wall? I smiled calmly. Professor Wang, didn't you notice? When we stand still, not only do the voices stop, but the shadows stop moving as well. Professor Wang nodded repeatedly. That's true. I guess it has something to do with us, though I'm not sure exactly why. I pointed at the ghostly shadows on the rock wall. Actually, the principle is simple too. After pausing for a moment, I looked at Professor Lee. Slowly raise your right hand. Hearing this, Professor Lee nodded and obliged.
he slowly raised his right arm.
After 2 or 3 seconds, the ghostly arm on the rock wall also lifted in sync, in a strange pose. Then I smiled, pointing toward the glowing underground river. Those ghostly figures are actually our own shadows. The bioluminescent microorganisms in the river have become a natural glowing screen. The rippling water surface acts like countless funhouse mirrors, distorting and magnifying the light. Immediately after, I turned to point at the golden clusters on the cave ceiling, and those mirror-like calcite crystals in the ceiling precisely reflect the distorted light onto the rock wall, projecting it there to create those dynamic, twisted, ghostly figures. At these words, everyone's gaze turned to one of amazement. Their previous fear was instantly replaced by curiosity for knowledge. I glanced over at the skulls on the wall again. As for these skulls, they're actually composed of high-density concentric circles and spirals. If you stare at them for too long, your visual system will mistakenly sense that your body is moving, while your inner ear tells you that you're still. This sensory conflict can cause dizziness and nausea, just like getting seasick. Now that you're not looking anymore, everyone should be fine, right? Everyone nodded. Yeah, the dizziness is gone for sure. All the mysteries have been solved. Now everyone's attention shifted to the suspended coffin. The coffin hung high above. Climbing the iron chains would be too risky. After an emergency discussion among the experts, they decided to use the thick stalagmites and protruding rocks above the wall to set up a web-like suspended work platform with aluminum alloy planks at key spots to help people stand and place equipment. The platform was set up soon after. Professor Wang and the others carefully moved onto it. They inspected the coffin and chains up close. After 2 hours with the chains, the coffin lid was finally opened. What appeared before them was a human-shaped figure with a talisman on its face. Professor Wang suppressed his excitement, signaling the photographer to record everything from all angles, before picking up a soft brush and bamboo stick and slowly cleaning it. Not long after, the cleaning was nearly finished. Professor Wang sighed. After all, space inside the coffin was limited. Aside from these burial items, there was nothing else of real value. It didn't live up to the grandness of a 9-dragon coffin. As everyone sighed, I instead looked up at the top of the cave. Suddenly, the system panel popped up without warning. Special historical artifact detected. Imperial Jade Seal. At the top of the cave, where the 9 iron chains converge, is the dragon attracting dynasties. Core feng shui spot. Afterward, when the last emperor of the Tang Li Kongqi burned himself with the Imperial Jade Seal in Luoyang's Zhuanwu Tower, the National Preceptor swapped the real Jade Seal in advance. With the true Jade Seal, the Preceptor used ancient secret skills to find the Qianlong Abyss Cave, using the natural yin vein there and the stalactite dragon shape, and enhanced it with man-made carving to create the 9-dragon heaven-locking formation, absorbing the dragon energy of the cave and even the entire mountain range to ensure its heavenly fate would not fade, waiting for it to reappear in the future. For the restoration of the rightful line, my pupils shrank suddenly. It's actually the Imperial Jade Seal. This is the object that symbolizes the mandate of heaven. In ancient times, the mere appearance of this would have caused bloodshed across the land. I took several deep breaths, just barely calming my shock. Professor Li beside me noticed my reaction and patted me on the shoulder. Lin Yuan, are you okay? Does the air down there feel bad? Go up and rest if you need to. I shook my head. I raised my hand and pointed overhead, Professor. We've all been mistaken. This coffin was just a decoy. The real secret is above. When everyone heard this, they all looked up at the darkness shrouding the cave ceiling. Professor Li leaned in closer to me. What did you see? I pieced together the system's clues. In feng shui, there's a theory about the true dragon returning to its nest. These 9 iron chains aren't just for suspending the coffin. Within the feng shui arrangement, they're channels for guiding and transmitting the energy of the dragon. The meeting point at the chain origins is the power center of the whole setup. That's where the dragon energy is densest and purest. If we've been treating the coffin as the human position and the cave as the local position, then the chain origins at the ceiling are the heaven position. A 9-dragon coffin of this scale. If it were only for burial, putting a body at the human position would already be extreme. But if it's not just for a burial, but to nourish and protect a treasure befitting the power of a heavenly dragon, then that object must be placed at the heaven position to be nourished by the gathered dragon energy and show its supreme importance. Most likely, this coffin below is just a decoy. This is openly repairing the plank road while secretly crossing the Shengkang. It's also the top-tier heaven burial method in feng shui. The scene immediately erupted in commotion. The more Professor Wang thought about it, the brighter his eyes shone. His breathing grew rapid. That makes a lot of sense. He immediately investigated where the iron chains converged at the top of the cave. He used every possible method. The staff sprang into action at his words. The powerful spotlight focused again. A small drone buzzed into the air. As the camera zoomed in and scanned the area, a stone platform gradually appeared on the screen. It was encircled by natural dragon-shaped stalactites. Obvious traces of human chiseling could be seen. Once the camera locked onto the center of the platform, a smooth jade seal suddenly came into view. What made everyone gasp was There was a clear gold repair on one corner of the jade seal. On the suspended platform, there was immediately a collective gasp of amazement. Professor Wang's eyes were wide open in shock. His mouth was slightly open, but he couldn't make a sound. Professor Lee unconsciously leaned forward. The other experts had tears in their eyes as well. Oh my God. This style, this quality of jade plus the gold corner. Could this really be the Imperial Heirloom seal? Professor Wang gave a hoarse order. Quick, zoom in. Focus on the seal's face. The operator immediately fine-tuned the drone's angle and focus. Clearly displayed on the screen were the words, "Mandate of Heaven, Prosperity and Longevity" in 8 large characters. Professor Lee stared intently at the screen. No mistake, all the characteristics match. Although the final authentication isn't done yet, all the evidence points to a single conclusion. It is highly likely to be the Imperial Heirloom seal, lost for 1,000 years. Professor Wang clenched his fists. Think of a plan, quickly. We must remove it safely for final authentication. Nothing can go wrong. The experts urgently analyzed the structure of the dome, the force on the iron chains, and how the jade seal connected to the platform. They finally decided to cut and hoist up the entire platform supporting it, along with the adjacent main shelter, all together from the dome. This would minimize any disturbance to the balance and prevent a chain reaction. Once the plan was decided, they executed it immediately. Layers of people below formed rings of protection. Everyone was worried about even the slightest mishap. The cutting process was painstakingly slow.
It took nearly an hour.
Finally, when the last attachment was severed, the platform with the jade seal was firmly secured by a special sling. Then it was gently lowered from the top of the dome. Ultimately, it was placed securely into a shockproof artifact case on the suspended platform. Only then did everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. The pent-up excitement suddenly erupted. Cheers echoed through the cave. Professor Wang put on white gloves. With trembling hands, he respectfully lifted the jade seal from the platform. He carefully placed it on the padded lab table. A strong beam of light focused on it. Several high-definition cameras recorded from different angles. A number of professors immediately picked up magnifying glasses, and spectrometers as well. The identification results were confirmed one by one very quickly. Professor Wang looked up and scanned the excited faces of the crowd, and then looked toward me. Based on the shape, jade quality, craftsmanship, and inscriptions, along with this unique gold-inlaid jade feature, our preliminary judgment is that this jade seal is very likely the heirloom seal of the realm of the Qin dynasty, lost for 1,000 years. Student Lin Yuan, you deserve the primary credit. As he finished speaking, the scene erupted in excitement. The appearance of the heirloom seal of the realm will surely be written into the history books, and everyone present will have their names remembered in history. I chose this moment to shut down the live stream. Just then, Professor Wang received a call from Director Zhou of the Kyoto Palace Museum. Old Wang, it's Zhou Dingwen. We saw the live stream content. In the name of the Palace Museum, I command you to immediately initiate the highest level cultural relic protection plan. The Academy's experts and elite security have already departed on a private plane. Before I arrive and take over from you, you are to keep the jade seal in your personal possession. You must not leave its side for a single moment. All data is to be sealed. We are taking over security at the scene. This is an order. Professor Wang immediately nodded solemnly. I understand. Professor Wang placed the jade seal into a specialized storage box and held it tightly in his arms. The group began an orderly evacuation. The lifting equipment started up slowly. When I reached the surface, I was instantly stunned by the scene before my eyes. The septic tank had already been covered, and the perimeter was filled with SWAT officers armed with live ammunition. There were layers of security. Director Chun walked up with a smile. Student Lin Yuan, we meet again. I scratched my head. Hello, Director Chun. He then greeted Professor Wang, Professor Lee, and the others one by one. The route and security have been arranged. I will personally escort you to the Municipal Cultural Relics Bureau. Professor Wang nodded in thanks. All right, thank you for the trouble. Director Chun scanned the crowd, then suddenly waved his hand. The order to depart was given. 3 black SWAT armored vehicles led the way. The core escort was a specialized heavy-duty bulletproof transport vehicle. We quickly boarded the vehicle under the escort of close protection agents. The jade seal box was firmly secured to a shock-absorbing platform inside the vehicle, in front of and behind the transport vehicle, and on both sides were 4 assault vehicles full of SWAT officers providing close escort. The team members held their weapons, guarding the surroundings. On the outer perimeter, there was a defensive line formed by numerous police cars and armed police transport trucks. In the sky, 2 police helicopters and 1 military attack helicopter followed in formation. Director Chan, in the command vehicle, ordered all units via radio to pay attention to the Jade Seal. The convoy is departing. Full traffic control as per the plan. As the order was issued, the entire city of Zihai seemed to have a pause button pressed for this convoy. The convoy's route was completely cleared. Intersections, large and small, were sealed off by police cars and armed police. The figures of snipers were even hidden on rooftops along the way. Sitting in the car, I took all of this in. Before long, the convoy stopped steadily at the entrance of the Municipal Cultural Relics Bureau. The security here was already extremely tight. Professor Wang personally carried the jade seal box and walked quickly into the identification room. Under everyone's gaze, he took out the jade seal and placed it on a workstation covered with black velvet. The various test results that came out one after another were all consistent with the preliminary identification, until the final carbon-14 dating report came out, showing its age spans over 2,000 years. The laboratory suddenly erupted in enthusiastic cheering. Professor Wang was moved to tears. Synthesizing all test data, we can responsibly confirm that this jade seal was commissioned by Qinshi Wang and inscribed by Li Si. It is the heirloom seal of the realm, symbolizing the inheritance of the orthodox Chinese dynasties. As he finished, Professor Wang turned to look at me. Young man, thank you. If not for you, who knows how much longer this heirloom seal would have remained buried underground. On behalf of all cultural relic researchers, I thank you. As he spoke, he gave me a deep bow. I quickly waved my hands to stop him. Professor Wang, you're being far too polite. It was just a small effort. Professor Wang waved his hand. This was no small effort. You are a benefactor to our cultural relics community. It's a pity you're already Professor Li's student. Otherwise, I would definitely poach you for the Cultural Relics Bureau. Professor Li immediately gave 2 dry coughs and looked at him with a helpless expression. Professor Wang, you're being quite talkative today. Professor Wang's face stiffened. Then he laughed awkwardly. I was just talking. Don't take it to heart. Just then, 2 black sedans stopped simultaneously at the entrance of the Cultural Relics Bureau. Director Zhou of the Palace Museum and Curator Li of the National Museum pushed open their doors and got out one after the other. As their eyes met, the 2 of them rushed into the building without a word. Then, the 2 of them squeezed into the laboratory buffer room almost at the same time. They hadn't even caught their breath yet. But as soon as their eyes landed on the jade seal on the workstation, their gazes instantly became fixed. Director Zhou was the first to walk to the glass, adjusting his glasses that had slipped to the tip of his nose. It's really it. It's exactly as recorded in the Wingshen Tongkao. Curator Li also took a deep breath and stepped forward. Having received the mandate of heaven, may he lead a long and prosperous life. This is the true treasure of the nation. A few seconds later, the 2 of them snapped out of it simultaneously, sparks flying the moment their gazes met. Curator Li spoke first. Old Zhou. The heirloom seal is the symbol of Chinese orthodoxy. It should rightfully be housed in the National Museum to show the world our roots and soul. That is where it belongs. Director Zhou immediately retorted, when it comes to the research and protection of imperial seals, who can surpass the Palace Museum? The Forbidden City is itself a symbol of imperial power. The seal returning to the palace is like a fallen leaf returning to its roots. For a while after that, the 2 of them argued until they were red in the face, completely ignoring everyone else. The experts in the laboratory looked at each other in silence. Professor Wang tried to interject several times, but was glared back by both of them, seeing that no result would come of the argument. Director Zhou turned to Professor Wang. Old Wang, you're the one who discovered the relic. Give us a fair word. Given our years of friendship, it's right to put it in the Palace Museum, isn't it? Curator Li also looked over. Professor Wang, I respect your character. Don't show favoritism because of friendship. The seal belongs in the National Museum, right? As they finished speaking, both of them stared at him expectantly. Unexpectedly, Professor Wang suddenly pointed at me. Student Lin Yuan discovered the bronze and jade seals. And the fact that this tomb could be found today also has everything to do with him. Everyone knows this. Director Zhou was the first to frown. Old Wang, we've been friends for years. How can you use a young kid as a shield? That's not very honorable. Curator Li also nodded in agreement. If it's difficult for you, just say so. Why do this? Professor Wang waved his hands helplessly. It's true. Just ask the others, and you'll know. The two of them turned to the crowd, seeing everyone nodding in confirmation. The suspicion on their faces gradually faded. Director Zhou clicked his tongue. Truly young and promising. Young man, would you like to come to the Palace Museum after graduation? I'll arrange an easy job for you. Curator Li also immediately chimed in. Young man, do you have a girlfriend? My granddaughter is about your age, and she's very beautiful. Let me introduce you two to each other. Dean Zhou cleared his throat and said, Young man, his granddaughter is a Sichuan Chongqing raptor. You can't handle her. Trust me, the Palace Museum is the right choice. Director Li glared angrily and cursed, You old bastard. How dare you undermine me? Dean Zhou snorted. You're not any better. All for the sake of the Imperial Jade Seal. Even your granddaughter can be brought up as leverage. You've got a thicker skin than a city wall. Did you even ask your granddaughter what she thinks? The two of them started arguing immediately. They didn't care about anyone else at all. I was completely dumbfounded where I stood. At that moment, Professor Li patted me on the shoulder. Good luck to you. I rolled my eyes at him. I took a step forward and said, Sirs, may I have a word? At these words, the two of them immediately stopped fighting. They both looked at me at the same time. I cleared my throat. One of you represents the Palace Museum. The other represents the National Museum. By rights, any top national treasure should go to you. But the Imperial Jade Seal is the treasure of the nation, exhibiting it alongside other relics. I think that's a kind of disrespect. It deserves its own high-standard museum. Even if it's just the Jade Seal on display, that's enough. The two directors frowned slightly, then both nodded in agreement. Taking advantage of the moment, I continued. In my opinion, since it was discovered in Zihai City, let's just build it here. The Imperial Jade Seal Museum, with both of you as directors. What do you think? As soon as I said this, Professor Wang and the others' eyes lit up instantly. Dean Zhou and Director Li glanced at each other, both showing an expression of agreement. Dean Zhou took a deep breath. I have no objection to building a dedicated museum in Zihai City, but the construction costs should be covered by our Palace Museum. Upon hearing this, Director Li was immediately unhappy. Why should you pay for everything? Let the National Museum handle it. Li Guden and Zhou Bapi. Just for a short while. The two started arguing again like a powder keg waiting to blow.
10 minutes later.
They finally got tired from all the yelling. Everyone began discussing how to supervise things. Meanwhile, the two bosses stayed by the Imperial Seal, planning to study through the night. Things here basically have nothing to do with me now. I'm just a student. I can't get involved in the construction management at all. Besides, I wouldn't dare to meddle anyway. Otherwise, I might stumble into another mess while working. That would be hilarious. Later, with Professor Wang and the others seeing me off, Professor Li took me away from the Cultural Relics Bureau. When I got to school, I said goodbye to Professor Li, went back to my dorm.
It's been a long, exhausting day.
I crashed right away and fell asleep. Totally forgot about the system lottery. The next morning, I heard my roommates shouting in a daze. I got up to take a look. Someone was holding a fishing net. Someone had a fly swatter. Everyone looked like they were facing an enemy. What are you guys doing? Trying to kill flies? My roommate Zhang Shang looked helpless, Yuan. That's not a fly. It's a wasp. You broke the ceiling last time. Yesterday, when the workers were fixing it, they found an enormous wasp nest in the roof's waterproof layer. We were all miserable. A bunch of nearby dorms got hit by them too. Hearing that, I hurried up and washed up, then followed them to the roof. From a distance I could see a huge wasp nest hanging in the ceiling panel gap. The rooftop is usually locked, so no one had noticed. Watching the wasps flying everywhere around, I took the net from Zhangsheng, then quietly approached the nest. A few wasps flew at me, but I slapped them dead easily. Both the cameraman and Zhang Shang were stunned. I walked straight to the nest, squatted down and covered it with the net, gave it a gentle tug, then tied a knot. Done. The cameraman gasped in surprise. Holy crap, bro. You're incredible. I waved my hand. It's nothing. I grabbed a stick nearby and tied it to the net. Then I waved the net around. This is the Supreme Imperial Banner of Souls. The cameraman and Zhang Xiang's jaws both dropped instantly. I glanced at the two of them. Don't you feel a faint aura of intimidation? Both shook their heads, saying no. I immediately moved the net closer to them. Really? Come take a closer look. The cameraman shrank back in fear. I feel this crazy aura. Zhang Shang nodded too. Me too. I feel it. I smiled, leaning on the stick. No, that's more like it. Let's go. The cameraman looked at me, confused. Where to? I shook the net and answered, to give it to Professor Lee. He was the one who introduced that senior to me yesterday and got me trapped in a pyramid scheme. This wasp nest is a supplement for him, a little gift for him. Zhang Shang's face twitched a bit, but he still followed along eagerly, obviously wanting to see the fun. Halfway there, the system notification suddenly sounded. Another lottery chance appeared. After that, I overheard a few students passing by talking. Heard that a senior went for a self-arranged internship and got tricked into a pyramid scheme. Yeah, that's right. The principal had to work really hard to rescue him. I cleared my throat and walked closer. Hey there. Is it possible that the senior was actually set up by a teacher? The students turned around. They immediately spotted the Banner of Souls in my hand and screamed, "Holy crap! It's a wasp, run!" The cameraman was totally stunned. So this is why it's called the Supreme Imperial Weapon. Just the aura alone freaked everyone out. Then I took them straight to Professor Lee's office. Just picturing Professor Lee's reaction made me secretly amused. I was really looking forward to that. But when we got to his office, we found it was locked. I took out my phone to call him, but it rang for more than a minute and no one picked up. I finally found a gift for him, but he's not here. I sighed. Looks like Professor Lee won't have the pleasure. Guess I'll bring it to the principal then. Zhang Shang was dumbfounded. He backed away quickly. Holy crap. One, are you crazy? If you want to go, go alone. I'm not messing with that. You're the only hope of the department. So whatever you do, nothing will happen, but I can't afford any trouble. After saying that, he ran off. I let out a snort and headed to the principal's office with the net. It's the weekend. Didn't run into any other students or the cameraman on the way. Made it straight to the administrative building. I peeked into the office. Principal, are you there? The principal heard me and adjusted his glasses. Oh, it's Lin Yuan, come in. I walked straight in, waved the net in my hand. Principal, I found something dangerous on the roof. I wrapped it up and brought it for you to handle. When the principal heard it was dangerous, he immediately praised me. Very good, great sense of safety. Everyone should learn from you,
he said, reaching out for the net.
So what's inside? I stepped back 2 steps. Banner of Souls. The principal glanced into the net. His hand shook from fright, and he threw it away immediately. Oh my god. All you heard was a splat. The net hit the wall. The already weak knot immediately burst open from the wasps shaking. A black cloud exploded out instantly. Seeing that, I ran for it. The principal's eyes were wide open, pointing at Shen Wanyan with a trembling finger. He was practically fuming. He is the principal, after all, a student hiding in his office, and only talking to another student. Anyone would be mad and confused. I was frozen on the spot. Never imagined I'd get myself in such trouble just being a bystander. How does any of this involve me? The principal suppressed his anger, ordered me to find out what happened immediately. If there's the slightest bit unclear, Shen Wanyan, the cameraman, and I would all get written up. Then he stormed off. Didn't look back at us. I went up to Shen Wanyan, who was still sobbing. I saw him cautiously glance at the principal's back. Then he lowered his voice and explained what went down. This morning he ran into a man on the playground. The guy first asked about exits and foot traffic, then suddenly flashed some ID.
He vaguely saw the words National Level 1 Agent.
That man even claimed to be with the National Security Bureau. He said he was tracking down suspects from the last campus attack. The suspects were too easy to spot. Asked him to help cover for them, then showed him a secretly taken photo of the principal, and said his phone was being monitored. If he didn't cooperate, something bad would happen. Shen Wanyan remembered all the incidents at school lately, and got scared and believed him. Took the chance when the principal's office was empty, and snuck inside, until the wasp chaos and our commotion gave him away. I understood the moment I heard it. This girl was definitely scammed. A real special agent would never pick an inexperienced student as a partner. It was obviously a tense scam staged by a fraudster. I patted his arm, told him not to worry. The most important thing right now is to explain everything to the principal. Expose the scammer, so no more people fall for it. Just then, the principal lost his patience and came back. After hearing my explanation, his face grew darker and darker. He immediately took us straight to the security center. As soon as the surveillance footage came up, everyone gasped. That agent had shown up at the school more than a dozen times. He specifically targeted pretty girls walking alone, either hiding in camera blind spots or wearing glasses and a hat to cover his face, only leaving a blurry side profile. But his convincing acting made the girls totally believe him. The dean rushed to the girls' dorm to investigate. Half an hour later, we got a call. Some girls were so scared they ran away midway, but some still got hurt. The scammer used the excuse of a comrade being injured and needing to relocate to invite them out. He lured them to open a hotel room together late at night,
He even exaggerated the crisis.
forcing them to make the fake story real. He not only took their innocence, but also stole a lot of money. After coming back to school, they didn't dare tell anyone. The principal was shaking with anger. He immediately ordered a news blackout and made arrangements to properly handle the aftermath. After reacting, the dean hung up the phone. Only the principal's heavy footsteps were left in the hallway, along with our serious faces. Not long after, the school bulletin board added 2 rules. Students are forbidden to trust commissions from off-campus personnel and required to report any suspicious on-campus situations. At the same time, my system panel in my mind popped up, notifying me I was rewarded with 2 chances at the lottery. I immediately chose to spin it. The next second, I gained a rapid face recognition skill. I couldn't help but smile. Although the scammer had escaped for now, this skill could help the police lock onto the target. Peace at Zihai University was broken again. Who knows? There might be even more hidden secrets behind this seemingly ridiculous scam. Maybe there are things yet to be discovered. Looks like my reckless adventure is far from over. Just then, the principal lost his patience and came back. After hearing my explanation, his face grew darker and darker. He immediately took us straight to the security center. As soon as the surveillance footage came up, everyone gasped. That agent had shown up at the school more than a dozen times. He specifically chatted up pretty girls walking alone, either hiding in camera blind spots or wearing glasses and a hat to cover his face, only leaving a blurry side profile. But his convincing acting made the girls totally believe him. The dean quickly led staff to do a sweep of the girls' dorm. Half an hour later, we got a call. Some girls were so scared they ran away midway, but some still got hurt. The scammer used the excuse of a comrade being injured and needing to relocate to invite them out. He lured them to open a hotel room together late at night.
He even exaggerated the crisis, forcing them to make the fake story real.
He not only took their innocence, but also stole a lot of money. After coming back to school, they didn't dare tell anyone. The principal was shaking with anger. He immediately ordered a news blackout and made arrangements to properly handle the aftermath. After reacting, the dean hung up the phone. Only the principal's heavy footsteps were left in the hallway, along with our serious faces. Not long after, the school bulletin board added 2 more rules, forbidding students to trust commissions from off-campus personnel and requiring them to report any suspicious on-campus incidents. At the same time, my system panel in my mind popped up, notifying me I was rewarded with 2 chances at the lottery. I immediately chose to spin it. The next second, I gained a rapid face recognition skill. I couldn't help but smile. Although the scammer had escaped for now, this skill could help the police lock onto the target. Peace at Zihai University was broken again. Who knows? There might be even more hidden secrets behind this seemingly ridiculous scam. Maybe there are things yet to be discovered. Looks like